worship you. Lord, we give you praise. Local angels, Prince of Peace, the joy of our salvation. Season nasebo, tusinza kwe Yesu. Nakuabudu Yesu, wewe mkombozi wangu. Mwana wa Daudi sebo tukunama. Yeho musumba wagenze, ukamo santarama wazalibwa okununula moyo gwange. Lero musizona tusinza kwe Yesu.
NTV, turning on your world.
Sometimes children have amazing ideas, but they can lead to tough stains. And for tough stains, there's new Omo Fast Action. Its super fast cleaning technology removes stains fast. New Omo, no one removes tough stains faster.
Expose. My name is Cox, aka Mr. Showbiz.
Hey, listen, when I'm in Uganda, I only listen to DJ Baby Love.
When you're dancing on the light, girl walk out, your body down no fly, your fingernail them no fear fly.
You have a problem with it?
No, I ain't got no problem.
You don't use my mic, man. This is exposed mic.
I go deal with you personally.
XFB, it's officially back. Yeah, I'm in this heaty with cats. It's what we do, baby. Put UG on the map. Now come my walk. Now come my walk. Now come my walk. Now come my walk. Hey.
Tadi Muganda yagala munne kututumuka abanyankole mweyagalidde mu Kampala abajja okulonda mwafuna mu bibanja mu Uganda
I'm that dude, so they come and love it.
You're going to start paying for watching Exposed.
I wasn't born last night. I know these hoes ain't right.
Sights and Sounds is brought to you.
We went to the movies. I forgot my wallet, but my brother sent me money.
I pretended not to notice.
Every day was a celebration.
Sights and Sounds is brought to you.
We went to the movies. I forgot my wallet, but my brother sent me money.
I pretended not to notice.
Every day was a celebration.
NTV, turning on your world.
Yes, awa endaganya ko yonna gy'osinzira nze Frank Walisimbi. Katusooke tufune emitwe mikulu. Abantu abalala 15 battiddwa mu bikola eby'obutujju e Kenya. Abafudde kati baweze 63. Ab'ebyokwerinda bagobeddwa. Gavumenti egamba abakola bino si ba Al-Shabaab. Mu Kampala ebifo ebyalambulwa ab'ebyokwerinda tewali bayaza bayingira. Ate abavubuka babiri bakwatiddwa lwa kuyingiza mbizi mu Parliament ne balangira
naye gavumenti teri well informed eya informing gavumenti yagirimu.
mu birala omusolo ku masomero gutanudde bannyinigo batidde nti guyinza okugotaanya ebyenjigiriza. NTV akawungezi nziramu okukwaniriza tusoose ne President wa Kenya Uhuru Kenyatta agamba nti mu ggwanga eryo mwandibamu bannabyabufuzi abeeko baana n'abantu abakola ebikola eby'ekitujju ku bannansi. Kenyatta ono olwaleero asazeewo ayatulire abantu bano balowooza nti bali munda mu Kenya oluvannyuma lw'abantu kati 63 okuttibwa mu bikolwa eby'ekitujju okuva ku lunaku olwa Sande. Obulumbaganyo obulala bwakoleddwa mu kiro ekikeesezza olunaku olwaleero abantu 15 ne battibwa. Aba Al-Shabaab beewanye nga bwe balumbye ekitundu ky'Empeketoni naye ye Kenyatta agamba nti si be bassa abantu bano.
Newankubadde aba Al-Shabaab beewanye nga bwe bali emabega w'obulumbaganyo obuzze bukolebwa e Kenya mu nnaku 2 eziyise, President Uhuru Kenyatta binaganya okubikkiriza.
Evidence indicates that local political networks were involved in the planning and execution of the heinous crime. This, therefore, was not an Al-Shabaab terrorist attack.
Uhuru agamba nti abantu abamu batandise okukozesa bannakenya n'embeera ey'obutujju okwefunira ebyabwe nga bayita mu kutirimbula bannansi abatalina musango.
Dangerous leaders preach the insidious message that some people are holy whilst others are evil. Such leaders divide instead of unite, scatter where they should gather, and destroy where they should build.
Omukulu ono abadde omusunguwavu yennyamidde n'olw'abakuumaddembe abamu bagambye nti nabo mu lukwe luno babaddemu ne balemererwa okutuukiriza obuvunaanyizibwa bwabwe obw'okukuuma bannakenya.
It is now clear that intelligence on this attack was availed to security officers in Mpeketoni. Unfortunately, the officers did not act accordingly. This negligence and abdication of duty and responsibility is unacceptable. Accordingly, all concerned officers have been suspended and will be charged immediately in a court of law.
Uhuru Kenyatta agumiza bannakenya nga ye ne gavumenti ye bwe bagenda okukola kyonna ekisoboka okulaba ng'ebikolwa nga bino birinnyibwa ku nfeete.
This rhetoric is unacceptable and will not be condoned. My deputy and I undertook to make sure that the country will never go the route of ethnic division and political violence.
Abantu abalala abasukka mu 15 battiddwa mu bulumbaganyo bwakoleddwa ekiro kya jjo mu kitundu ky'e Lamu okumpi ne Mombasa. Mu bano mubaddemu n'abasirikale ba poliisi 2. Omuwendo gw'abaakattibwa bbomu ezitulikidde mu bifo eby'enjawulo mu Kenya mu nnaku 2 zokka kati guweze 63. Ababaddewo ng'obulumbaganyi buno obwakasembayo bukolebwa bagamba nti abatujju abantu be basse babayise mannya gaabwe oluvannyuma ne babasimbya olunyiriri mu kitundu ky'e Kaisari ne balyoka babasindirira amasasi agaabattiddewo. Kigambibwa era nti abakoze obulumbaganyi buno basoose kutaataaganya byuma bya mukutu gw'empuliziganya ogwa Safaricom mu ngeri ey'okulaba nga tewabaawo muntu yenna abaako gwatemyako ng'ayita ku ssimu.
NTV akawungezi poliisi kuno okwaffe ekola ebikwekweto nebaako n'ebifo eby'olukale ebyeggala olw'ebyokwerinda okubeera ebinafu. Obulumbaganya obuzze bukolebwa e Kenya butiisa era kikulu okubaako ebibuyigirwako. Tulamuddeko ebimu ku bifo ebyaggalwa poliisi gye buvuddeko okulaba oba abannyini byo batuukiriza obukwakkulizo obwabalagirwa. Ebisinga ebiriyo biraga nti omulimu gukyali munene.
Tetujja kukkiriza ekifo ekitalina bukuumi obumala okuteekako viewing ya World Cup. Tetujja kukikiriza.
Oluvannyuma lw'ebigambo ebyo poliisi yaggala n'ebifo ebyasoba mu 10.
Poliisi enkute tetulina metal detectors.
Ebyo biwulikikanga ebizzaamu amaanyi tyosanga ebyokwerinda binywevu mu kiseera kya World Cup. Olwaleero tuzzeeyo mu bifo ebyaggalwa okwekebejja oba nga byatuukiriza ebyo poliisi bye yali esabye. Tugeza akaseera k'amalya g'ekyemisana era tusookedde wano ku Spenders ekireka nga neebagazza ensawo eno esobola okwetikka ebibaluka zisabyalo. Sobodde okuyingira ate n'enfuluma nga mpawaŋŋambyeko yadde okunkebera. Tutuuseeko ne mu bbaala eno. Muno sobodde okuleka ensawo yange munda n'enfuluma okumala eddakiika eziwerako. Kyokka bwe nkomyewo wabaddewo n'afunye obuvumu okugisitula n'agizza mu ntebe. Nnyini kibanda kino naye mu kikwekweto yatwalibwa talinnya. Ekirungi ekyuma ekikebera yakigula era yasobodde okunkebera.
Buno busimu ntambula n'eziwera.
Wabula neefudde gwe bakubidde essimu bwentyo n'enfuluma okumala akaseera era bwe nakomyewo twakkaanyiza ku muwendo gwe nnina kulabira sineema gwokka era n'entuula.
Si bibiri.
Bw'ondaba munda wano siteredde bulungi ng'era omuntu yenna aba aliko kyagoba.
Ndowooza embeera ogiraba. Ebitundu ebimu oyingira ne bakukebera osobola okulekawo kyolese ate n'oddamu n'ofuluma. Kale era ebyokwerinda birabika nga bikyalimu ekibugwe wadde ng'ebifo bino byazzeemu ne biggulwawo.
Ebifo by'ebyokwerinda ebimu awali n'abasirikale abakwata emmundu nawo okukebera kwa kibogwe. Mu Kenya ennumba ezisinga okukolebwa zitera okutwaliramu ebitebe bya poliisi. Tuyiseeko wano ku poliisi ya Kira Road wabula nga nawo kubadde kumenya mu jjenje kkalu. Wano awasookerwa oba reception waliwo n'abantu abasemberedde ensawo eno enfunda eziwerako kyokka nga mpaawo abuuza nnyiniyo. Mu ssaawa 2 zokka nsobodde okutalaaga ebifo ebisukka 6 wabula nga bingi ku byo bikyetaagamu abantu abatendeke mu byokwerinda okwetegereza abayingira ne bye beetisse. Solomon Kawesa, NTV akawungezi.
NTV akawungezi. Mu birala poliisi ku Parliament eri ku bunkenke oluvannyuma lw'abavubuka 2 okugikuba ekimooni ne bayingira Parliament n'obubizi 2. Abavubuka bano abamalirivu obubizi babusiize langi ya kyenvu nga babutaddeko ebipande ebigamba nti Parliament erimu bali banguzi era ab'omulugube ogusinga obuberege buno bwe bazze bakakaatanye nabo.
Akawungezi ka leero Parliament ya Uganda ezindiddwa abavubuka 2 nga beekalakasa. Bano bazze n'embizzi 2. Abavubuka bano abatannategerekeka kamannya gaabwe kati batemeza mu kadukulu ka poliisi ku Parliament ng'eyagala bannyonnyola ekibatanudde okujja ne bumutambuza ddembe ku Parliament y'eggwanga. Obubizi babusize langi ya kyenvu nga babutaddeko n'ebipande ebigamba nti Parliament erimu abali b'enguzi. Mbaka wa Butambala Muwanga Kivumbi awagidde ekikolwa ky'abavubuka bano.
Nze ng'omusiraamu ekyakabizi kino kimpisa bubi naye abo bannayuganda bye batuuse babanyigiriza babayisa bubi. Budget mbi nnyo, abaana tebalina mirimu, kati bye babasazeewo kulaga obutali bumativu mu nsonga ng'eno ly'eddembe ly'obuntu lyetwogerako bavuddeyo tebakutte emmundu ng'abalala bo balese bulesi mbizi
naye bw'ojjayo ekintu ng'embizi kitegeeza nti toli musanyufu n'akamu nti weetamiddwa kyolaba kye bakola si kituufu kwe kuleeta embizi.
Embizi kitegeeza ki? Ekyo tekirina makulu. Bwe tuba twekalakaasa tumanye nti institution eno erimu abantu ab'enjawulo, mulimu abasiraamu, mulimu abatali basiraamu. Kati okuddira embizi ogireete ku paalamenti tekikola makulu. Bw'oba olina ky'otowagira funa ekkubo eddala ery'okwekalakaasa mu kifo ky'okubonyaabonya ebisolo.
On a very serious note, if pigs can successfully penetrate and beat the security circles of Parliament and are landed in the parliamentary precincts, then our own security in this institution is wanted.
Ab'ebyokwerinda ku Parliament kati kino kibatuuza bufofofo nga beebuuza abavuka gye bayisizza embizi zino ne baziyingiza Parliament mu kaseera ng'eggwanga liri ku bwerinde olw'abatujju aba Al-Shabaab. Parliament y'emu ku bitongole bya gavumenti ebisinga kebera buli kintu ekireetebwa mu Parliament. Jingo Francis, NTV, Akawungezi.
These are real pigs, but somebody can bisect that thing and put another thing inside.
Wow, NTV Akawungezi. Ebyobubizi ng'obirese mu Parliament y'emu Brenda Nabukenya olunaku olwaleero alayiziddwa ng'omubaka wa Luweero omukyala omulundi ogwokubiri. Nabukenya awangulamu na NRM Rebecca Nalwanga n'obululu obwali busoba mutwalo gumu mu kakaaga mu kulonda okwaddibwamu omwezi oguwedde.
Libadde essanyu eri ab'oludda oluvuganya gavumenti nga bawerekera Brenda ng'omubaka omukyalo wa disitulikiti y'e Luweero. Olumaze okulayizibwa, amyuka sipiika wa Parliament Jacob Olanya akwasiza Nabukenya ssemateeka wa Uganda n'ekitabo ky'amateeka ga pulezidenti ey'omwenda. Nabukenya asiimye abalonzi b'e Luweero era n'asuubiza okununula abawagizi be abaakwatibwa ku lunaku lw'okulonda.
Ngumya abantu baffe nti babeere bagumu, bantu baffe be bafa ffe gavumenti eno okubaawo naye bw'olaba nga bayisibwa bwe batyo kitegeeza nti tewaliwo nkolagana wakati wa gavumenti n'abantu.
Ono asuubizza okusimbira emisolo egyateekebwa mu bajeti ng'agamba nti ginyigiriza omuntu owa bulijjo.
Bantu banaku bakeera ne bakola tebalina kye balina naye bw'ogamba nti okoze bajeti ne bomba ezifuuyiro ozitaddeko omusolo n'ensigo kitegeeza tomanyi kigenda mu maaso.
Nabukenya yawangula akalula k'omubaka omukyala owa Luweero omwezi oguwedde n'obululu obusoba mutwalo gumu mu kakaaga bw'atyo n'awangulamu na NRM Rebecca Nalwanga. Suhail Mugabi, NTV, Akawungezi.
NTV Akawungezi. Bannannyini masomero ag'obwannannyini basitukidde mu gavumenti olw'omusolo gwe yatadde ku masomero gano ag'obwannannyini ogw'ebitundu 30 ku buli 100 ku magoba agakolebwa. Bano bagamba nti omusolo guno guyinza okuzingamya ebyenjigiriza. Balowooza nti waliwo yalimbalimba gavumenti nti amasomero gano gakola ssente ekitali kituufu.
Sabbiiti ewedde minisita w'ebyensimbi Maria Kyonuka bwe yali ayanja embalirira y'ebyensimbi ey'omwaka 2014-2015 yateekawo omusolo ku matendekero g'ebyenjigiriza nga gano nga gali ku musingi ogw'ebyobusuubuzi. Bannannyini masomero gano kino tekyabayisa bulungi era ng'olwaleero bambalidde gavumenti nga bagamba nti kino kyakuzingamya ebyenjigiriza. Bano nga beegattira mu kibiina kyabwe ekya Private School Teachers Owners Association bagamba nti ekyokusaawa omusolo guno kyakuzingamya ebyenjigiriza anti ku bangi kubakulirako bannannyini masomero bajja kuba kati batunulira nnyo okukola magoba.
Nti quality egenda kugwa. Kubanga sente ze nandisasudde omusomesa asobole okusomesa n'amaanyi nja kuba nzikendeeza nsobole okumiitinga emisolo gavumenti gyekoze eki gyempadde.
Bano bagamba nti n'ebisale ku bayizi nabyo boolyawo byakulinnyisibwa ekintu ekijja okunyigiriza ebyenfuna by'abazadde.
Fiizi zirina kwongezebwa olw'okuba nti amasomero galina okulaninga.
Abamu bagamba nti wadde nga gavumenti yavuddeyo n'omusolo guno oboolyawo wandibaawo abaagiwabya nga balowooza nti amasomero g'obwannannyini gakola amagoba mangi.
Naye gavumenti teri well informed eyainforminga gavumenti yagirimba.
Kyokka minisita Maria Kyonuka olwaleero avuddeyo n'annyonnyola ekigendererwako engeri y'omusolo guno ogw'ebitundu 3 ku buli 100 gye gugenda okusoloozebwamu.
Private schools, like any other institution, will be required to show they do not have any profits.
Fees zedukanya amamotoka zidukanya emmere gyedukana ebirala katubuuza nti mutasinga ki masomero.
It is taxing of profits, not the school.
Amasomero g'obwannannyini gabadde galudde nga geefuze ebyenjigiriza mu ggwanga olw'omuwendo gw'abayizi omungi ogugeeyunira nga n'omutindo gwa waggulu nnyo bw'ogerageranya n'aga gavumenti. Julius Senkandwa, NTV.
NTV akawungezi tukyagenda mu maaso. Mu studio tulina omubaka wa Kalungu West Joseph Gonzaga Sewungu omusomesa omutendeke. Tugenda kwongera tutanye ensonga eno nga tuli wamu naye. Honorable nsanyusa okulaba.
Nange sebo.
Budget ya 2014-2015. Ebyenjigiriza biwadde obuwumbi 10 mu lukaaga mu 9 n'obugwamu. Bateekateeka okuzimba ebibiina ebirala.
Bwe ziba n'amaanyi amangi kiba kitegeeza gavumenti eremeddwa okukola ki? Okukola. Ekisooka gavumenti tejjangawo TTCs. Minisita omu education yalina amasomero amanene. Era kyebuuzibwa ddala mwami Miyingo bamubuuzaako bati bamubuuza. Kubanga ng'ogenda okusaba omusolo ng'education oba health olina okumanya n'obuuza bana ba ministry kinaasoboka. Olwaleero essomero ly'ogamba nti ogenda disaba emisolo ly'abaana 2,000. Mu mwaka ogwo ligenda kukalisigaza abaana 200.
Batya
tosobola kumanya ngeri ki masomero gye galinnya na gye gagwa. Era obadde wano ameka g'omanya gabaddewo agatakyaliwo. Amasomero agasustaininze mu Luganda kankiddemu mu Luganda amasomero agasobodde okubeerawo ne wagamba nti Kampala Parents etambudde emyaka gino gyonna okubanga weeri. Green Hill ndabye mukyala Sala Nkonge Kampala Secondary ebizu byayitamu dituusaawo wanene. Essomero si kuŋŋaanya bukuŋŋaanya ssente ebiritambuza bingi.
Kati tax base government ejigaziye ebifo mu
tax base sigiganye naye
mwagala ebyenjigiriza bitumbuke.
Ekisooka olina okumanya gavumenti mu masomero ageteekayo ssente mmeka. Yo yennyini egenda gaagalako omusolo eteekayo mmeka tewali. Ekyokubiri abakozi abaliyo tebakoma ku basomesa. Olwaliro amasomero ga gavumenti UPE zensinga okumanya US kiyinza oba tebalina na baasa n'akawunti bazigalala butaba na ssente. Gwe kikulemeza okuddukanya agaga gavumenti kibutaba naki na ssente. Ono service olwaliro performance ya Uganda ate bwana Walusi Munyampa ensonga emu bagenda kusanga obuzibu. Ne gavumenti erina amasomero amanene. Buddo King's College, St. Mary's College Kisubi, Rubiri SS.
Ago tebagagabana ne bannaddiini.
No, bayinayo basaba ssente. Gwe gwogamba nti asaba kinaana n'ekisubi azisaba mu Kisulo. Bonna bakola ekintu kyekitya. Ate era ekisubi bali abasomesa ba gavumenti beewa emisaala. Bano balina private nga be bawa abasomesa emisaala n'ebirala.
Okay, kituyinza okirekerawo ekisembayo. Omuntu bwakugamba nti kanzija omusolo gwa bitundu 30 ku magoba g'okola mu mwaka. Tugeze essomero liyingiza amagoba ga miliyoni 3 oba 2 ne bajjako ebitundu 3 ze miliyoni ndowooza nga oba 6. Kikosa kitya ebyenjigiriza okugenda maaso?
Ekizibu kyeriwo
tukozesa sekenzana
mukyala Kagina n'abalinzi b'endu bakola research bagende banonyewo amasomero gawummula galina ssente ezisasula abasomesa. Abasinga bagenda babanja tamu etandika ne basasula bwe basasula mu tamu etandika ne baleka banoonya ate ez'omwezi ogudda. Majority tebasasula basomesa nga bawumudde abamu ne ssente ez'omwezi ogw'olumula tebazikola ki lwabutaba na ssente. Nolwekyo biwanvu nnyo bwe tulifuna puroguramu engazi ennyo nja kujja mbinyonyole naye amasomero ago bakimanye nti tegali state era nze sigenda kuwagira kujja ku private schools musolo.
Mugenda kiwakanya mutya munagenda mu court?
Ngenda kirwana court nayo gyendi ndi bulungi.
Olina kachiko kebyenjigiriza
n'abakachiko education ngenda ba mobilizing n'ababaka mu parliament n'emiyingo minister kubanga alina amasomero ngenda naye muyambiramu.
Kito kiremerako nnyo.
No ndi serious yalina amasomero yatekwa n'okudefendinga banno okusooka.
Kale webale nnyo okutwegattako mubaka Joseph Gonzaga Sewungu wa Kalungu West abadde atanya kiri ekyokujja omusolo ku magoba agakolebwa amasomero ag'obwannannyini oba private. Eddakiika ziri 20 ziyise ku ssaawa emu tugenda mu kitundu kya 2 kankubulira ebimu ku bye tulina. Katikkiro Mayiga asabye emisolo giyambe bannansi awabudde kwejo egiteekebwa ku bintu ebitundibwa n'ebigulibwa. Omusiraamu abadde yalemera ku mwenge famire ne basheeka baganya okumusaalira Lindo olabe Katemba azzeeko.
Olugero lwa leero lukutuusibwako Movit All Day Confidence.
Buswaggu oswagguza ne gw'olya naye. Buswaggu kigambo ky'abayizi kye bakozesa okweyozaayoza. Okuyozaayoza kirungi naye kisingawo ng'oyozaayoza oyo gwe mugenda okulya naye.
Pride is your beautiful hair.
They are all winners. With Movit No Best, you can also be a winner.
Movit All Day Confidence.
.33% of women are in local government councils and there are high girl-child dropout rates in schools. Women don't benefit from their labor in the agriculture sector. Women and equal opportunities in Uganda. Let us discuss in a live talk show this Saturday at 5 p.m.
NTV akawungezi katweyongereyo. Katikkiro wa Buganda Charles Peter Mayiga alabudde ku misolo emingi egibinikibwa ku bantu kyokka ne gyekomezebwa abantu ab'olubatu olwo bannansi ne basigala okukukkuluma oluusi n'okwerya enkuta. Katikkiro bino abyogeredde mu kulambula omulimu ogw'okuzi wali mu Bulange Mmengo. Katwongere okufuna ebisingawo.
Katikkiro agamba nti okuwa omusolo katadalya buli munnayuganda kubanga y'engeri yokka gavumenti gy'eyinza okutambuzaamu emirimu gyayo, wabula n'alabula ku kabaata akali mu kuwa omusolo kyokka ate abantu ne bataguganyulwamu.
Buli omu asaanawo omusolo. Ekyokubiri, omusolo tegusaana kuba mubinike kugamba nga guyitiridde nti bw'ojjako omuntu omusolo gusina kuba gwa kigero.
Okwogera bino Katikkiro abadde ali mu kulambula omulimu gw'okumaliriza ekizimbe ky'amasengere Bulange. Agambye nti abantu bangi babinikibwa emisolo kyokka gye biggweera ng'abantu ab'olubatu be bagyekomezza awatali abagambako.
Waleme kubaawo ababikkirirwa mu ngeri etasaanidde, omusolo guleme kubbibwa abantu ab'olubatu.
Katikkiro era akangudde ku ddoboozi eri abantu abaagala okubajja ku mulamwa nga balangira gavumenti ye nti esabiriza.
Tulina obusobozi okufukamiza abawandiika amawulire ago agatali mu makulu. Baagala nnyo tuve ku bino bye tuliko, mulabe omwoyo oguli wano. Baagala tuve ku mwoyo guno tudde mu bintu ebitalina makulu, naye basanze tulaba temubaganya.
Gw'omulimu gw'okumaliriza ekizimbe Masengere gukyakwajja ng'abakwasiddwa omulimu guno aba Arab Construction bagamba nti balina ekkatala ery'okumaliriza ekizimbe kino ng'omwaka guno tegunnaggwako.
So already once the callers come, we come and cast. So for our capacity, we can make this in 1 week because to supply this, it is somehow expensive, but the quality with time will compensate this expensive for cost.
Nga bulijjo abantu ab'enjawulo bawaddeyo ettoffaali lyabwe era ng'obukadde 15 bwe busondeddwa oluvannyuma ne batwalibwa okulambuzibwa omulimu ogukoleddwawo. Budini Lubowa Sava, NTV akawungezi.
NTV akawungezi. Poliisi etawuluza ebibinja by'abaziisi 2 ku kyalo Bulubandi eyiganga abantu bano babadde bavudde mu mbeera mu kuziika omu ku munnaabwe. Ekibinja ekimu omubadde n'ab'omu maka ag'omugenzi Yakubu Kawunda basazeewo obutaziika muntu ono mu ngeri ey'ekisiraamu olw'okuba abadde munyi wa mwenge nga kumpi ebbaala asula mu nsule. Ekibinja ekirala kibadde kiwagira omugenzi aziikibwe mu ngeri ey'ekisiraamu era omulambo baguggye mu ntaana ne baddamu ne baguziika mu ngeri eno ey'ekisiraamu gye babadde baagala.
Ekibinja ng'abasingamu babadde mikwano gy'omugenzi n'ab'oku kyalo teri ategedde gye kifubutuse kwe kugaana ababadde bateeka omulambo mu ntaana nga bawakanya eky'okumuziika mu ngeri y'ekisiraamu olw'okuba abadde anywa omwenge era nga takyasaala. Omulambo gwa Yakubu Kawunda nga yafiiridde mu kabenje ka bodaboda, mikwano gye gisinzizza abawaka ne bannaddiini amaanyi ne baguziika mu ngeri eragirwa amateeka g'Obuyisiraamu. Bino bakira babikola nga bebasaalira omufu n'okukukkulumira basseeka n'ab'eŋŋanda ababadde basazeewo okuziika munnaabwe mu ngeri gye batakkiriziganya nayo.
Kawunda abe musaada mulungi, abe musaada kalenganwa, aye abe musaada mulungi nga mwikaikamu nga kyayogera niwe wabakoze niwe programu ba programu. Ekyokubiri baseeka bakuno batulaze empisempi ezira muntu azasoma ebitabo asayira muntu mwine musango
abekikabebe nabamusalirewo omusango lwaki niba Katonda.
Bino byonna okusobola okubaawo poliisi emaze kuyitibwa okuziyiza embeera ebadde etandise okubijja. Sheikh Yazid Ngobi atwala omuzikiti gw'Iganga alambuludde ku mbeera ebaddewo.
Omuntu atasaala la yusalli alayhi tebamusalira obanga afudde wala yudfanu fi makbari muslimina era tazikibwa mulimbo ey'abasiraamu tasaalirwa. Naye imaamu ng'omukulembeze ayinza okukikola olw'okwagala okubeera nga ayagala abalala babeere nga balabirako, babeere nga badda mu diini yaabwe n'abeera nga tamusaalidde.
Abooluganda balumiriza nti omugenzi abadde munyi wa mwenge w'olulango ekikontana n'amateeka g'eddiini y'Obuyisiraamu nga n'olwekyo abadde tasaanidde kuyisibwa nga musiraamu.
Okuveera mu Busoga abatuuze mu Bugembe Town Council ejjinja awo obusungu bubalinnye ne baziba oluguudo oluva ejjinja okudda e Busia nga bagamba nti kasasiro ayitiridde mu kifo kino era kye bakoze bakute kasasiro ne bamuyiwa mu luguudo luno. Bagamba emyezi giweze 3 nga bekikwatako tebasomba kasasiro ono nga bwe balina okukola ekivuddeko ekivundu okukwatirira mu byalo ebyetooloddewo.
Bw'oba tukigenderedde oyinza okulowooza nti kigendererwa kyabwe kyakuyola kasasiro ono babeeko bamutwala kyokka bwe weetegereza nga muliwa mukuba wakati w'omanyira nti balina ensonga endala. Bano nga banyiivu bakedde kwebagajja bitiiyo enkumbi n'ebikola ebirala ne batandika okuyola kasasiro abadde atumbidde amabbali w'ekkubo nga bamuyiwa mu luguudo wakati. Entambula esanyaladde ng'emmotoka si kyangu kumala gayitawo.
Mu bintu ekkubo baliggaddewo kubanga lyekkubo lireeta abantu East Africa yonna okutuuka e Kampala.
Ng'abasinga ku bano bavubuka babadde boolesa obutali bumativu ku nkola ey'akasoobo ekozesebwa okubajja mu kasasiro n'atuuka n'okwetuuma kumpi kukola lusozi.
Balage nti oli siriyasi. Tuli kulya ni kasasiro mu Bugembe.
Kasasiro ono ddala abadde amazeewo ebbanga ng'abatuuze bagamba babadde bafuna ekivundu n'okulwala nga batandise okulwala.
Abaana balwala, abaana baidukana olw'akasasiro owawano wa Bugembe tebamufuako temwogerako gagibaziya gaasi twakube.
Kino bagamba bakikoze okuzuukusa mmeeya atandika okukola egigye. Oluvannyuma mmeeya atuuse n'agezaako okwogerako n'abatuuze kyokka nga teri amuwuliriza era waliwo n'abamusuulidde kkapa enfu mu mmotoka ye ng'esibiddwa mu ssuuka enjeru. Mmeeya y'omusango abutadde ku district.
Sente ziriibwa zibbibwa abantu ne bazitwala ku district n'abakulembeze ab'enjawulo. Nja kubanga mbeerawo ku lw'abakulembeze, mbeerawo ku lw'abantu okulaba nti Bugembe etereera. Meya wantayidde ali tukwenda bigambo bye tukwenda jasi kasasi okuvaawo.
NTV akawungeze kyagenda mu maaso. Tugenda kudda n'ebyemizannyo naye nga okubulirako akatono mu kikopo ekyensi yonna Algeria eri mu kuzanya ne Belgium mu kiseera kino era Algeria ekyalinawo eggoolo emu. Katukomewo tukubulira ebisingawo.
Akatale k'ensimbi kakutuusibwako.
Invest, reap, grow. ICEA Asset Management. Profile of stability. Grow your wealth with ICEA Asset Management. Invest wisely with our unit trust fund that offers individual investors, companies, groups and associations a chance to pool funds together for a minimum contribution of 100,000 shillings. ICEA Asset Management. Profile of stability.
Ebyemizannyo nga bwe nkugambye bye bijja tova ku NTV. Mu byemizannyo oluvannyuma lw'okuwangula omuzungu Jaco Julisa okuva e Finland omwaka oguwedde, Munnayuganda Sharifu Bukenya kati ayagala kuddamu yeegeze mu musipi oguli ku mutendero gw'ensi yonna. Wabula nga tannakola atyo ajja kusooka akwatagana ne Munnayuganda munne ayitibwa John Tumukunde aludde nga amusoomooza ng'ayagala abeegere essajja. Bukenya ono tumusanze yeetegekera olulwana luno e Katwawo.
Bagamba nti ekigwo ekimu tekirobera abaana kuzannya n'oluvannyuma lwa Sharifu Bukenya okwesimba ku muzungu Jaco Julisa n'amukuba eŋŋumi tonziriranga kati asituukidde mu munnamagye John Tumukunde. Bano bakwambalagana ku Sande eno nga 22 e Masaka ku Marias Flow mu lulwana bombiriri mwe baluubirira okwemala eggayaŋŋano. Bukenya gwe tusanze ng'atendekebwa mu jjimu y'e Katwe atutegeezezza nti wadde nga omuzungu yamuyisa bubi ono Munnayuganda munne wakumuwuliramu omusera.
Ebintu bino bazze bakuba abantu, ekyo si kipya. Naye mbadde njagala ne Tumukunde agezeeko tulabe wakati w'enjawulo y'omuzungu n'ey'omuddugavu.
Ababiri bano era bakutuukiza embiranyo wakati wa Moses Golola ne Titus Tugumi. Golola yagenda okutendeka Bukenya ate Tugumi atendeke munnamagye munne John Tumukunde.
Nze sigaba lawundize ni musajja mulwanyi tukubagana paka lw'ogamba nti bannaaye omusajja akuba. Owulidde kuba abantu baba basasudde. Owulidde abantu baba basasudde ate nga basasulidde ffe. Tukubagane kisima bwe kinaamukwata oba kisiraani kye n'agigwamu naye nze njagala mukuba akkirize nti abantu.
Mu byemizannyo ebirala ekikopo ky'ensi yonna kiyinda era omupiira oguliwo mu kiseera kino wetwogerera Belgium bakwataganye na Algeria ggoolo ekyali emu eya Algeria. Omupiira emirala gigenda okuzanyibwa
ojja kusukkawo naye ng'olwaleero ow'ekibimba yasibye Algeria.
Kyemanyi obulungi guno omupiira gujja kuba nti Brazil ejja kuba Mexico ggoolo 2 ku bwereere.
Brazil erina chances nyingi nti yeetegese. Ekyokubiri n'obumanyirivu erina.
Ndowooza Mexico egenda wangula kubanga nabo ekikopo ekyagala bakitwala.
NTV akawungeze ebyemizannyo bwe bityo bwe bigenze obawulidde nga agaliza birungi byerere. Olwaleero wano e Kampala we tusinziira okuweereza bino byonna budde bubadde buweweevu olunaku olwaleero. Batubulidde nti awala walabiseeyo ku bukuba bubadde butonotono. Entebereza y'obudde mbujjuvu tujja kugifuna mawulire agana
NTV.
Sometimes children have amazing ideas, but they can lead to tough stains. New Omo, no one removes tough stains faster.
Program Guide is brought to you by
Jessa Smooth Yogurt.
Program Guide.
Jessa Smooth Yogurt comes.
Today's highlight with
Nice and Lovely Body Lotion.
Get out of my house and don't ever come back, or I'll shoot you if necessary.
Mother, lower the gun. Mother, lower the gun.
Are you defending this idiot
We all
now?
know what you're capable of. But all that is over, understand? It's over.
For you.
You bring out the best in me.
New and improved Nice and Lovely.
And the change of government won't stop a thing. I've run out of looking to sell. At what price? More. Much, much more.
Are you ready for your big break? The East African, understanding the region.
Well, enthusiasm is defined as inspiration, motivation, coupled with a pinch of health as an individual can improve. But before we get there, I'd like to recommend to you that today you can unleash the genius in you. Tap that potential. As I wait for my cup of coffee, I'm the boss. Let's get started with the question of the day. Good morning. Our question of the day, of course, can be answered by the first 5 respondents. Head over to our Facebook page, be yours either at the office or at your home, and you can enjoy a brilliant, beautiful cup of coffee. Well, Mabel is standing by at the NTV studios with the stories that are making headlines. And when we come back,
dropped right at your doorstep for work. I'm very jealous, and that cup of chai, I still have my issues. But whether you're joining us on air or online, welcome to Morning at NTV. Looking at the headlines, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta blames security officers in Mketoni for 2 terror attacks. The Kenya Red Cross reports that over 50 people are still missing, and NTV visits places around Kampala to check whether people are vigilant.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.
The back-to-back attacks on Mketoni in Kenya's coastal town of Lamu have propelled into the spotlight. The government have propelled into the spotlight the government's handling of security concerns and the fight against terror groups. What lessons can be learned from the attacks as security experts put the blame squarely on the country's security agencies?
The attack on Kenya's Westgate shopping mall on September 21st last year left at least 70 people dead and scores injured in a hostage crisis that dragged on for 4 days. In the aftermath, reports emerged of alleged infighting between the Kenyan Defense Forces and counter-terrorism unit. Questions were also raised as to how the Kenyan government handled the intelligence information that warned of an imminent attack on Westgate. The Somali militant group, the Al-Shabaab, while claiming responsibility for the attack, warned it would do the same in Uganda, Ethiopia, Burundi, all countries contributing troops to the African Union peacekeeping mission in Somalia.
So we had to spill blood to send a message. Their women aren't better than ours. Their sons aren't better than ours. Their children aren't better than ours. When they kill our people, we kill theirs.
9 months later, Peketoni, in Kenya's coastal town of Lamu, is reeling from back-to-back attacks in which gunmen killed at least 50 people. Again, the government is under pressure to provide answers.
I mean, first of all, I don't think there was intelligence, because if there was intelligence, there would have been clear efforts to try and avoid. Or if there was intelligence, then the strategies that we used to safeguard Peketoni basically were not up to date.
Or if they do analyze it correctly, they don't take it seriously, and so they sit back and either dismiss it and say, we've had this kind of thing before.
What then could have gone wrong? Some security analysts believe this attack could have been stopped.
Terrorism without intelligence gathering, you cannot get anywhere. Yeah, the intelligence gathering unit in Kenya, called NSIS, I think they need to get out of their comfort zone. They need to know that before such a thing happens, these guys will do what we call target selection.
The whereabouts of the gunmen is unknown, and the Kenyan public remains unsatisfied with the answers.
I issued a caution to the effect that there is a line beyond which nobody should cross. The red line has since been crossed. Those engaging in incitement of public will be firmly dealt with in accordance with the law.
The Al-Shabaab have claimed responsibility for the attacks in Peketoni, while the government dismisses the claims, blaming local politicians funding ethnic killings. There are concerns that the move is to protect the country's tourism sector that has already suffered a sharp blow, but this leaves the country riddled with divisions open for further attacks.
You have somebody working with you, but they feed the enemy.
The police now should actually come up with the good operational procedures that are actually applicable on the Kenyan scene.
Uganda is watching closely events in Kenya, and what lessons can it draw from it?
How Uganda handles threats. When they get any threat, they inform members of the public through the media, through their police spokesman, and at the end of the day, you find everybody being alert. In Kenya, people get information. The security agents get information. They don't share with the members of the public.
There must be those doing intelligence over those who are carrying out intelligence. Are they doing it honestly, concisely, and precisely?
Fighting terrorism is everyone's responsibility, and infighting within the security and intelligence agencies puts millions of lives at risk. This is because terrorists take advantage of any weaknesses so that they can carry out attacks and popularize their radical motives. Sudil Biarhanga, NTV.
Still on matters terrorism, before the World Cup kicked off this year, police around Kampala carried out different operations and closed 10 public venues that they say did not measure up to the set security standards. Yesterday, NTV visited some of these places to see if they were in operation and if they now had the necessary security measures in place.
The bag I carry with me has the capacity to hold enough explosives to cause great destruction. It is close to 1 p.m. and we are approaching the Spender's pub, one of those closed last week because it did not have required security measures in place. At the entrance, no one pays me any attention. I get in and out. No one asks about my bag. At the next pub, famous for showing the World Cup, I sit my bag close to these two people and I sit a distance away. No one questions my motives. I walk outside for a while. And when I return, I find the waitress had even placed my bag on a chair, perhaps to save me my seat. At this video hall, where the operator had been arrested at the recent check, a metal detector has been acquired. At the checkpoint, I pretend to have received a phone call and I walk away. When I return, we only agree on how much I should pay and I find myself a seat. At another place, once again, I leave my bag unattended. No one questions me. While I sit, I am a little disconcerted. I am wondering why no one has been suspicious of me. In Kenya, security organs have been the target of terrorism. So, we decide to see how ready our police stations are in the event of any attack on them. At Chira Road Police Station, there are no checks. At the reception, several people stand by my bag and do not question its contents. In about 2 hours, I visited more than 6 places. I left each of them worried for my own safety. If I wasn't being checked, I thought it very easy for the next terrorist to have the same luck as I did. While Kenya ups its security in the middle of attacks, Ugandans are still lying around, believing they have nothing to worry about. Solomon Kawesa, NTV.
Very scary there, and we do hope after that story ran yesterday that we shall be more cautious about our surroundings. You're still watching Morning at NTV this beautiful Wednesday morning. Remember, you can be in touch with us by sending us an SMS to 6565, or you can follow us on Twitter at Morning at NTV, or Facebook, where we have reached 20,000 likes. Thank you all for following us. We shall now cross over to Brian and Joel and Simon as well for today's press review.
Well, thank you so much, Mabel. Definitely looking, as our friend Peter would call it, dapper. The oranges are doing magic this morning. And in a couple of minutes, we'll be looking at some of the stories that are making headlines. Joel Senyonyi and, of course, Simon via Skype in Jinja. Stay with us. The press review coming up. A very good morning to you, wherever you're joining us from, whether online or on your telly at home. Actually, you can stream online live. That is youtube.com/NTV Uganda/live, and you can get it loud and clear. Joel Senyonyi joining us this morning. Also, good morning, Joel.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I think I'm awesome.
You think so?
I tried the
You're
pink.
Not too sure.
Pink is the new black.
Says who?
So I'm a
You don't look very bad, actually. You're smart, though. You're smart.
Yeah, I stayed up late and I got very disappointed in Brazil, but yeah, I thought they would win. But
being host does not necessarily mean you have the magic bullet of sorts, so they should learn.
So what team are you supporting in the World Cup?
Incidentally, I happen not to be a soccer fan. I am not so consumed by soccer. Once in a while, I'll flip through the channels and stay on for a very long time. That's 2.5 minutes, yeah. And then I move on to other things. But right. It's exciting to see people, you know, into this soccer thing. I hope it doesn't chew up a lot more of their time. It's good to prioritize. Be a soccer fan, but don't die for soccer. You know, we've had cases of people dying. Semanya Arsenal has not won, then they commit suicide and that kind of thing. You know, it's good you're still alive, keep alive, even though you support Arsenal. And which team are you supporting internationally in the World Cup?
Italy.
Italy. The one that's about to be beaten. You'll be fine.
Well, joining us via Skype is Simon. Good morning, Simon.
All right, we're still getting in touch with Simon. Well, we'll start. Simon will join us later. But the Daily Monitor this morning with a very, very huge headline. This organization, or for lack of a better word, government body, has been accused of one of the most chronic corruption cases in this country.
I don't know. The institution of the NSSF is, I think, a beleaguered one in many ways, because each person that goes there, I think they get encapsulated by fear. They do not know what to do because they've seen what has happened to their predecessors, and they're too careful, you know, in as far as how to invest, where to invest, etc., etc. But I think going forward, we need to allow them a bit of time. Let's have an eyes-on approach, but a hands-off approach, so that these people are not quiet, so they can make certain decisions, and let's allow them to make some mistakes. Actually, some mistakes are not exactly to do with corruption and so on. There is corruption, granted, but some mistakes could be, you know, glitches that do happen professionally as you operate. You know, as you invest, you'll get your fingers burnt here. It will work here. Sometimes it will not work. If you're to do research, it's always said that business people, many of these wealthy guys, out of about 10 businesses that they tried out, you know, about 8 to 9 of them failed until they hit that one that works.
Some people have said that this is probably one of the most stressing jobs in the country.
It is, without a doubt.
You're paid very well, but the deliverables are also high. The bar is set high.
Considering also what has been the case previously. So you get therein and you are too cautious.
Right.
You know, which should not be the
but
case.
My question is, will it help changing and flipping managers at NSSF? Is it going to change the situation right now as far as managing our money is concerned? I'm
not too sure it will. I insist we should have our hands off but our eyes on. Let's give them a bit of space to operate, and because of course the challenge is that this is people's money, you know, so we want to be very careful how we use it. But as we are careful, let's allow them a little bit of space to do what they need to do. They will make a few mistakes, without a doubt.
The other day, a friend of mine said, you know what, NSSF is one of those places that has naturally allowed people to make continuous mistakes therein. So whoever comes in makes their own bunch of mistakes, and somehow they are not so different from the previous.
And we need to do
it. You buy land at 600 million. Years later, you sell it at the same price, which does not make any business sense.
Yeah, of course, the challenge could be that, you know, the other one was a bad deal. So when you come in as a new player, as a new, you know, manager, you do not have a choice. You've got to dispose of that land, and probably the best price you can get it is at the very price at which it was bought, you know. So they keep riding on mistakes of previous ones. So I think there's need to have some kind of evaluation, critical evaluation, to realize what has been going on wrong. How can we remedy this? You know, similar to what we are doing with now. This business of now, let's just throw it to the army and so on. No. First sit down, evaluate what went wrong. You know, is it just an issue of these ones are not in uniform? That is why they didn't deliver. These ones are in uniform, so they will deliver. I think that's trivializing the whole issue. You know, when Right Honorable Sam Kutesa, His Excellency, I understand he is now. There's two border guys that got injured in a fight over his job. They were arguing over, okay, now, the UN Secretary General, Ban Ki-moon, and the UN General Assembly President, Honorable Sam Kutesa, who is more important, whose position is bigger, you know, and it's careful. They went to the internet cafe, tried to, you know, get information and so on. Interesting, and along the way, 2 of them got injured. Well, we need to keep giving people information. These 2 jobs are different. The UN Secretary General heads the UN Secretariat, and the UN General Assembly President presides actually over, you know, the assembly meetings, like the Speaker of Parliament does. Of course, if you look at hierarchy, Sam Kutesa is below Ban Ki-moon.
Yeah, and I think that's where it you know, the emphasis is. And my border friends must have been thinking that Sam Kutesa is more powerful
because the president.
Yes, the president. So I guess that's one thing that we also have to make. But you know, someone asks, is this job for Sam Kutesa or it's for Uganda?
That's an interesting question. I like to think it adds a lot of value to, I think it's both, yeah? It adds value to his CV as an individual, if he does a good job. As for Uganda, we may not gain anything tangibly, because look, he does not make critical decisions, you know, and that is why, for example, one would...
But the forum that he leads steers international debate. on matters.
Yeah, in some ways it does, but it's if you're to critically assess what the UN is and who calls the shots at the UN, it will be interesting what kind of analysis you have at the end of the day and conclusions you draw.
Right.
So at the end of the day, yes, it does, but nothing really tangible for Uganda. Except for the fact that we have somebody at the helm there. Hopefully he does represent us well. If he does, that's good PR for us. I think the best we can get out of this is good PR and that kind of thing. Yeah, but there's no direct link between his job and Uganda per se. Not quite. It does not make critical decisions as it were. He just presides over this now 69th session for a year, but I hope he does a good job and represents us well. But of course, for him as an individual, that is big. That is big for his CV.
Well, that's of course news coming in from where he's going to be seated, our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sam Kutesa, and we'll try and make sure that we get him here one of these days for the big story. Now, of course, I think my friend Joel Senyo would call this beleaguered man, Brigadier Michael Ondoga. I'm being threatened not to pursue Ondoga's release, and the wife says. Now, the army has frozen his bank accounts. If a person like this is incarcerated and you still freeze the bank accounts, and his family obviously does not have any other channel of
of course, Brigadier Ondoga is facing charges of command and operational failures in Somalia. Look, without in any way prejudicing this case, there are consequences for our actions. I'm not in any way saying he is guilty. I think investigations need to be carried out expeditiously, though, because he's been locked up and so on. The case seems to be slow, which should not be the case. Yeah, so let there be an expeditious trial, and then receive results at the end of the day. Is he guilty? Is he not? If he is guilty, was he in cahoots with anybody, and that kind of thing. It just goes to show for the lacunas there are in our judicial system. We've got a backlog. There are people that have been on remand for donkey's years. It is not right. It is not, and many of them are innocent, and and in law they say, look, you would rather let go one guilty person than keep 10. No, you'd rather let go one guilty person than keep 10 innocent people indoors, and many of these people are innocent, and we need to see cases dealt with expeditiously.
Well, like you said, this matter is in court and we'll be waiting for what happens therein. A picture at on the front page of the Daily Monitor, Joel, we had a comprehensive coverage of the elections, the by-elections in Luwero, and she has finally started her job, I guess.
Yeah, she got sworn in. We are waiting to see her delivering. She's a promising young lady. Nabu Kenya it is you're talking about. She's a promising young lady. And one would imagine now the picture is, the expectations are a little higher.
It says Museveni shouldn't go to court.
I don't think.
Do you actually believe the president will waste any more time playing for what I consider cheap politicking like this?
Well, have we not seen him doing so? Well, it doesn't have to be him as an individual.
Is Luwero that much of a priority that the president would consider going back to court?
Without a doubt. The other day they called it, what term did they use? The something of Uganda. I forget the wording, but we did hear some NRM people, officials saying that, look, we are going to court again, and some of us were thinking, come on, stop, let's get serious, let's stop wasting too much of
I guess
time.
That's why I'm asking you, that is it that significant to waste another 3-4 months or 5? It will first go to court, then we have another by-election in case Nabu Kenya.
But again, it will flop because this time round I was not on ground, but we had our people on ground, and there was hardly any rigging, as His Excellency the President does claim, by the opposition. If it is there, let evidence come out. Yeah, of course, it's been very hard work. These guys have had 3 by-elections, 3 elections rather, in 3 years, because they had the first one, then 2 by-elections in a period of 3 years. That's cumbersome. That's very taxing. But if there's evidence of rigging, we want to see sanity in this country. Yeah, we can endure that. But if it's just for the sake of politicking and that kind of thing,
maybe the president should follow Rakakamba's advice when he said they just had a weak candidate, not
maybe they did, or whatever the case might be. Now, you talked about NSSF that is about to get a new manager, and we are told the one Edgar Agaba. This was the gentleman at the helm of PDTF, and what did I say?
PPD. PPDA.
Yeah, that one. He scored 83%. Joseph Kitamirike scored 74%, and then the immediate former, Richard Byarugaba, scored 68%. So, interesting. We wait to see him take the helms of that institution. World Health Organization expert warns against misuse of mosquito nets. Now, many times you tend to think that if somebody has gotten a mosquito net, then they're entirely safe. But use, you know, because sometimes as people wrap these things, you know, they, within their wrap, a good number of mosquitoes which chew them through the night.
Right.
Of course, there are others that use them for fishing nets, sijui,
to keep
wedding gowns, you know, and so on. But
well, Charles Onyango Obo here with an opinion. To survive terrorism, our big men have to throw away their current playbooks. We've had numerous interviews on this show about safety. But, Joel, something that has caught the world's attention, and when I watched the president of Kenya say that it was not a terrorist attack, I thought to myself, aren't you giving terrorists an upper hand? But also, could it be reverse psychology for the Al-Shabaab claiming, you know, attacks they have not orchestrated?
Actually, before President Uhuru Kenyatta did come out, his interior minister, a gentleman called Joseph Olelenku, I mean, he came out and he was saying, you know, he seemed to insinuate all through that this is courtesy of, you know, political incitement of violence by the opposition and that kind of thing. I looked at the man and I was thinking, this is incompetence at its peak. You know, even previously, during the Westgate Mall attacks, you know, he did come out to say one statement, and then after a while, after, you know, things did change, he came out to recant those same statements, you know. So even this time round, he did come out to insinuate that, look, it is opposition figures that are inciting violence, that's what is happening, only for the story to play out differently, and then he had to come out and rescind, you know, his words. So one would imagine, look, after this has happened, you want to keep a calm head, relax a little bit, wait to see how things unfold, as opposed to going around and running your mouth, saying things that you might want to, words that might want to eat back thereafter. Right. So I thought, this is wrong. Wait till you have all the information, and then you can come out and give a statement.
Right. Well, joining us via Skype is Simon Kasiate. Good morning, Simon.
On phone call, I understand.
On phone. Simon, good morning.
Good morning, Joel, and good morning, Brian. Looks like now Ginger has become extremely too far for you guys to reach me via the usual channels. But I hope you can hear me loud and clear now.
Without doubt.
Well, Simon, we are talking about, you know, whatever is going on in Kenya. We know that there was a terrorist attack a couple of days ago. President Uhuru Kenyatta coming out strongly and saying it was not. This is domestic politicking. It was ethnic clashes that caused all this. Do you believe that that was the right move for the president to take?
Well, from where I sit, I would not want very much to speculate on the goings-on in Kenya's internal security dynamics. But clearly, when you look at the mode of the attack and this whole thing of attackers coming around and asking people for their names, I mean, it becomes more like how it was sometime back in Uganda, where you'll find roadblocks mounted by youth and other Rasta people, and they ask you to sing a certain anthem, or they look at the size and shape of your nose, or start asking you to pronounce certain words, and if you pronounce them differently, then you'd be, you know. So, I mean, from what I hear coming in from Kenya is that some people would be stopped and asked what their names are, and when they mention names that possibly don't start with certain letters, then those would be candidates for an onslaught. For me, that is certainly not the Al-Shabaab way. If the Al-Shabaab, I want to believe that if we were the Al-Shabaab, they would be possibly asking you to list the 5 pillars of Islam and also recite the, you know. But if it came into things of names and appearances, then I think there could be some water in the allegation that indeed there could be some tribal undertones. But of course, let's also not say that Kenya is not above tribal or ethnic pandemonium. We saw this coming into play at the very fore in 2007, and let's not forget that Uhuru Kenyatta himself and many of the guys in his government were clearly, you know, allegedly at the center of this. That's why we had issues at The Hague and the like. So we cannot say that Kenya is entirely innocent of tribal push and pull. But, I mean, I'm only glad that even if he says it now, if it's a mere allegation that doesn't hold water, fair enough, but that should awaken them to the fact that Kenya sits on a volatile time bomb with regard to their ethnic tensions. And I'm liking the fact that he is swearing upon himself that his government will not allow the country to generate along ethnic lines. On the other hand, you could say Al-Shabaab is an extremely lucky group. When they take responsibility, they are because they took responsibility of this, and they are told, no, you are not the one. When they don't take responsibility, as what happened during the Westgate at some point, then we accuse them of being the one. So at the end of the day, they are damned when they do it, are damned when they don't.
Interesting picture of Simon Kasiate there. He looks like an SPC, but good to have you joining us this morning. Yeah, but you see, at the end of the day, it's actually possible that the Al-Shabaab are not responsible for this attack, even though they will come out, you know, make noise and say we are the ones to try and take credit for it. But I think on the part of the Kenyan administration, they went running too quickly, saying this and the other.
Yeah.
You want to wait a little. First, try and understand what the real situation is, you know, because you can't have blooper after blooper. After Westgate Mall attacks, you come out and say this, and then all of a sudden you've got to recant those words. Then this time round, you come out and you're saying this, and then after a couple of hours, you're saying something different. People begin to imagine these fellows are incompetent.
Well, one would argue that they are damned if they do, against use my sentence, damned if they don't. Remember, there is this pressure of 24-hour TV. There is the pressure coming in from which journalists who are asking for minute-by-minute updates, and they're inundated by the need to provide information. Yes, of course, we are not saying that Minister...
Yeah, but even when people keep asking for information, you do not just go doing guesswork. You want to tread carefully, because this is security we are talking about. I think it was irresponsible on their part as leaders. You know, of course, they're trying everything they can. It's a tricky situation. People need information. What's happening? What's the cause of this? But it's just like if you have an ailment, you run to a doctor and you want a very quick diagnosis. He should not just run until you have malaria. It is something else,
and then you diagnose the right disease.
Yes, you might cause a lot more trouble. So,
supposing it turns out indeed that they were right, indeed this is a work of...
it's actually possible. It's possible, but the point I'm making is they were really just operating on guesswork. They didn't seem too sure, and that is why when different reports came coming out, they began to slowly but surely move away from the earlier remarks they had made, and they thought, okay, right, there you go, eating your one.
Well, gentlemen, I ask that we move on to something different because...
We've seen this coming in from the US and Britain when they attacked another country on allegations of containing weapons of mass destruction. How many years down the road, I don't want to believe that you and I have seen any such a thing as the mass destruction having been amassed by Saddam Hussein for that matter. The world over these security matters sometimes to take the part of gesture and we see devastating whatever humoring. But of course, that cannot be an excuse for Kenya. They should have been brilliant enough to learn some past examples, such as the US invasion of Iraq.
Well, Simon, we'll move on to another story and try and wait for the Kenyan government to do what is expected of them. Now, in the Tri-Weekly Observer this morning, Museveni advisor warns of defeat. The Masaka region official says people will punish NRM for the deteriorating social service delivery. Joel has for a long time talked about earning your trust by delivering services.
Without a doubt, that's the only way you can amass support. This business of you go around dishing out money, it's not sustainable. It might win you a few votes, but look, we should have leaders in this country.
Do you think our electorate has gotten to a place where they can actually punish you for delivery of services, or as long as you pay my rice and salt for the next 3 months, man, have the vote?
Maybe they have not, but you see, as leaders, we need to get serious. If we say we love this country and we are patriotic, we should be real leaders and not politicians. I've told you the difference. Politicians are more concerned about the next election. Leaders are more concerned about the next generation. We should have that. We should begin to deliver services as opposed to, you know, an election is coming up, you know, oftentimes up country by elections, they go and places that don't have electricity, they go and lay the electric poles down there close to polling stations, you know, as if to send a message that, hey, you know how to vote. And lo and behold, they vote. After the election, depending on which side the election went, either they will now plant the poles, you know, without connecting the wires, or they will ferry them away and bring them back to Kampala, that kind of thing. No, we need to get serious, really.
Simon,
let me read to you this quote of the day in the Daily Monitor. This is from MP Abdukatuntu on magistrates in Chankwanzi. It's very wrong to have judicial officers who have subscribed to the judicial oath to administer justice to all manner of people to be taken to a very partisan institute. Now, you should know that for many, a public servant, each time they get appointed, they're taken to Chankwanzi to be indoctrinated, told how to do things, when to do things, but much of the time it is really political jargon and that kind of thing. I think this gentleman has a point.
Right. Simon, is actually NRM likely to suffer defeat, say in 2016, because they have failed to do what we expect them to do?
How come I don't think the NRM has been doing what we expect them to do in the last 10 years. How they have not faced any form of defeat. Are we saying now we are finally waking up for them by the neck? That I think they cannot say in truth. I mean, this is called political rhetoric of people trying to elevate their power to get the base of the NRM that is going around dishing cash. At the end of the day, I don't think that the matters that concern us every day, security, good governance, good roads, good hospitals, comes to the mind of someone lining up to cast their vote. I don't think when you find an ordinary voter in the line waiting to cast their vote, they are saying I'm going to vote because of good taxes and all that. Many of them, I can tell you, over 80% of the ordinary Ugandan voters are voting as a result of having been given something an hour before, a minute before, or they are looking at a policeman standing by looking at them with a daunting eye and say you must vote this direction. So I don't think that the failure of deliver services is alone in itself the only way that NRM can face the people. I want to strongly believe that their use of money is the only thing that can secure their victory, and they will do this more than they have ever done before.
I agree, but I think I disagree on moving forward. I think we need to begin empowering people, telling them that, look, you should begin demanding for services as opposed to somebody's buying you a bar of soap and that kind of thing. You know, it might take a while. It's not going to happen all of a sudden. It might take a while for us to get there. But for me, I'm actually more concerned about these leaders of ours, you know, going around and dishing out money, very lousy. Can you begin to deliver services? As opposed to, there's an MP, I'm glad he didn't make it back to Parliament. He was actually a minister as well. This guy just sounded preposterous. He told people that, look, the polling station from which I get the biggest number of votes, I'm going to give you, I think he said 2 cows. I looked at the man, I wanted to pull his ears.
But aren't we the ones encouraging them? Because if you're giving out 2 cows and people are cheering you on, you probably are.
And that's why I'm saying it is both ways. You know, we should be telling people that, look, can you begin to demand for what matters? When these guys come to campaign, you know, put out issues that matter to you as opposed to these bread and butter issues, even though those should be of concern as well. But as leaders too, you know, what should be your way of doing things?
Well, we've been castigating them for many days now, but in the Tri-Weekly Observer this morning, youths in yellow pig protests at Parliament. We saw that they took pigs, you know, branded in NRM colors, but unfortunately the pigs were arrested.
Yeah, just like it did happen in Kenya. Look, I thought this is copycat. Well, I understand in Uganda, for example, copyright means the right to copy. And I thought, no, these youth should be a little bit brighter than this. You know, Kenyans have done that. Be ingenious. Think of something better. Even though, well, they are making a statement out there. They are saying, look, Parliament is crumbling this country in many ways. It is a big institution. We, you know, have to spend so much money trying to maintain it and that kind of thing. Yes, they do have a point. Whether or not that tact made, you know, had a bit of oomph, I'm not too sure it did.
Right. Simon, is this a surprise for you, since the kind of course, views you hold as far as the NRM youth are concerned are quite special? Is this a surprise?
Considering he's a friend to Professor Gilbert Bukenya.
I possibly did not get you right, Brian.
We're talking about the youth that took pigs to Parliament, yellow pigs.
Well, I think next time they will take flying pigs, because clearly I had never seen that type of me, a yellow pig for that matter. But well, then, I mean, like, indeed, I heard you, Joel, say this was, you know, some kind of copycatting gone so wrong. We are looking at a bunch of 2 youths going to Parliament, possibly to get a bit of the media glitz and glamour. I mean, I'm telling you, Parliament, for the most part, has become this place where anyone who wants to be anything or wants to appear on TV or wants to get some kind of buzz certainly goes to, whether or not they had it or not. I mean, clearly, like you said, there were more ingenious ways that are typically Uganda not copycat that these tools would have used to send their point across. But also, on the other hand, I mean, it's a clear sign of how desperate the situation has become for many people. The point where they realize that they have no other place of recourse but to engage in such activities, if for nothing else, embarrass the leaders who came to work for them. And I can tell you, I saw members of the opposition gloating over it, including some Muslims, saying, yes, I'm offended as a Muslim, but I think it's the right move for you to bring it to Parliament and demonstrate. I can tell you, when they say that Parliament is corrupt, it is not corruption is not an exclusivity of the many NRM MPs there. All MPs in that house, and I have to say, and I say it firmly without fear of contradiction, the majority of them across the political divide are indeed not above the issue of corruption. So rather than start pointing fingers that the political party is corrupt, I think fingers will be pointing at each of the MPs to realize that they are a disappointment in themselves. Otherwise, if the opposition was seen to be a communion of saints, how come they are not more than the NRM in parliament?
Right.
So at the end of the day, it is a bipartisan malaise, and parliament as an institution must fight corruption in there. Next time they will be saying what? This time they have sent in pigs. Next time they will be throwing at them flying toilets. Who knows?
Interesting. The Observer here reports Buganda wants police to control border. Now, the Kabaka's convoy was involved in a fatal crash with one of the cars therein, with the border cyclists, and they're coming out to say, look, we need to see a control on borders and so on. But the thing, you see, we should not wait for, dignitaries, and not just the Kabaka. Tomorrow it might be a minister's car, and then that is when they'll come out to say, look, let's have something done about these border cyclists. If you go to Mulago, you'll find guys, especially that casualty ward, I'm told about 70 to 80% of the victims there are border casualties. We need to do something about it.
That's one of the reasons why I want to give it to the Katikiro of Buganda now. Most of the youth in Buganda are doing border business. They have sold their father's properties in the villages, and they've come to Kampala to do border. If they are not employed in the border business, they are betting. So I don't know if the next thing for Buganda will also be betting.
I don't know. Border business is not, in essence, a bad business per se. I think we just need to regulate it, because these guys ride in a very wanton manner. They do whatever it is they want to do. I use them quite a bit. I told you, each time I jump onto a border, I pray in tongues. These guys ride like they have a spare life at home. It's very tricky.
With nothing but your prayers. If every time you jump on the border, you pray.
What you said.
Well, speaking of Buganda, yesterday the red paper.
Is this your helmet, Simon? Brian Mulondo?
Yes, I have.
I don't know if Mebo can get me.
I have taken on.
For you seem to be, a serious rider.
Yeah. I have realized that it is going to be impossible for me to survive in this city. So I took on this.
Yes, there you go.
So I have started pursuing this.
Yeah, so we should not blame Baganda youth for going out and becoming border riders. If presenters, can have part-time jobs, but you're making a lot of money. You
someone told me they are cost cutting at NTV.
I don't know what I should do. We'll see. I'll come to your stage and we'll see if you can get me on board.
In case India Nang. I will be. I'll have a side business, but I got this because these guys are really, like you say, they drive like they have a spare life. So I will keep mine. At least I'll keep my head intact. So I got this.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yesterday the red paper printed the story of the Kabaka being sick, and now they say his disease has no cure.
It's interesting. Look, I did say that this red paper story, I'm actually waiting to first get official communication from the Kingdom administration. Until that happens, you want to take what you read in the papers with a pinch of salt. The other, not too long ago, one of the dailies came out to say this is the mother of Prince Temako Kido, and they were so sure about it and so on, only for a few days later to realize it was a blooper, so all this business, and until we see a statement from the Kingdom administration, we need to tread a little bit carefully. Now, there's interesting stuff happening here in the Observer. This is the minister. This is Honorable Abraham Byandala, Minister of Transport and Works. He says Museveni listens if you shout. He was talking to people in Luwero and saying, look, His Excellency the President does not listen to petitions and so on. Shout out your needs as hard as you possibly can, and you'll get services delivered. I hope
does it actually work, Simon? If you shout at the president, then you're probably going to get what you deserve. Buganda has done that for a long time, and they are reaping. Is it something that most people should pursue?
Well, if that question is geared at me, because I think your line is a bit very poor, but yes, Abraham Byandala is as right about Museveni as some people can say is right about God, because I live right next to a church in Mbuya there, and I do not know what kind of God they pray to, but I know they have got to shout and bang doors and scream, and because mayhem in this place just for the omnipotent God to listen to. What about an immortal, President Museveni? Certainly, I think the shouting should be loud, and I think Abraham Byandala is really right. For many of you to have your things done, you must shout. And I think he's also using the word shout figuratively. that you must do maybe what you in Uganda would say, you must do something extraordinary, business as usual. You must behave differently from how others are. If for nothing else, cast the man. But should that be the way things should be done? I thought that if you are superintending over a country, you must have a government that prioritizes, that sends out quotas on an equitable basis, rather than on who shouts loudest or who cast themselves in ash just to catch your eye. So I think that it was self-defeating for a minister of government to say that for services to be delivered to folks who pay their taxes, they must shout and try to catch the president's eye. I think if he was trying something like a scheme, I think it backfired flat on his back.
Well, this is in the gossip section of the Red Pepper, Simon. When he came out to support its LGBT community, he was slammed, and actually some people said he might be playing for the other team. Andrew Mwenda, what has it that he has finally paraded his channel?
I'm looking at this girl, I'm thinking she looks like an S2 girl. I don't know
Why
if I'm
do you say
seeing
that?
properly. Maybe I need to take a clearer look at this picture.
Joel and Brian, I want to say that I will not be on national TV and start discussing the private matters between a good friend of mine.
Oh, come on. We are just talking about what's in the papers here. It is gossip section, like Brian has said. Whether or not it is true,
well, Simon, it is in the gossip section.
Among the two of you, and if I hold Mwenda as a personal friend and for a very long time, I know that girl Titi. I have known her for a very long time, for over a decade, and I have known them to be in a relationship, and I know them.
Good for you. Since he has a spokesperson, why are we struggling yet? Andrew Mwenda has a spokesperson, a stooge in the person of Simon Kasiati.
That Andrew is duly married to that lady, and that lady is of age. So let us not get into the issues. It is his personal choice. If there is anyone who is aggrieved, let us take our grievances to the rightful organs of state. That
come on, gentlemen. Who's aggrieved about this? Are you kidding me?
This morning show, folks.
Was he the best man of Andrew Mwenda?
Let's not get down into the private issue. What, next time you'll be discussing my wife and which tribe she's standing for and her age and her skin color? No, let's cut each other.
Oh, come on, give us a break.
Well, Simon, I think you're taking things too personal.
Whatever it is you're drinking this morning,
Ginger is definitely putting some pressure on you. But we want to end this morning.
We are ending the segment, Simon Kasiati. You will gossip later.
No, there is a level to which we cannot think on this show. We are not going to.
All right, Simon is obviously aggrieved. I guess he's the best man, but
we should make noise for Red Pepper.
We'll be talking more World Cup also later with Isma, as Brazil failed to overcome Mexico in a crunch time. Most people have called it a derby, and these teams have faced off various occasions before, but this time Brazil, which was expected to do this because it's a World Cup, didn't deliver as expected. We'll be looking at that and more. But playing on the international scene, Mabel, again, terrorist attacks across the whole world. I got an opportunity to watch Hillary Clinton, who has written a book, and she's talking about some of the tough choices she made while Secretary of State. What else is on the international scene?
Thank you very much, Brian. And I wanted to start with football and England, because here we saw one of the reasons England could have lost to Italy the other day, Brian, is because Rooney was playing in a wrong place. And now today we have Raheem saying he is happy for the switch to take place, so they may switch playing position. So we shall see what happens on Thursday when they do take on Uruguay. We also have another story. England, Lampard is saying people's fixation with Rooney is a bit unfair. There's a lot of pressure on that gentleman. So I hope Brian has taken note of my very important points. But moving on, we do have Senator Clinton here, and she actually conducted herself more as a presidential candidate than a former Secretary of State. So will she not stand? Read more about it on the CNN webpage. Now, most of us are familiar with this gentleman, Dr. Oz. Now, he actually had to face Parliament, the Senate, yesterday about his miracle weight loss claims. He's a famous doctor made popular by Oprah Winfrey in the United States. And but people are not too happy about the promotion of his weight loss products. They want to know how safe they are, and probably if he's just false advertising. They want actual proof that his products work. Also, still a lot here about Hillary Clinton on CNN. And now Iraq accuses Saudi Arabia of promoting genocide. Baghdad says its neighbors, Saudi Arabia, are guilty of financially and morally supporting the Sunni militants that have caused a lot of spilling of the blood in Iraq. Also, on the Sky News page, we have Al-Shabaab not to blame for Kenya attacks. This is a big story, and we did talk about it earlier. The Kenyans say it's not Al-Shabaab. The Al-Shabaab say it's them. So Uhuru Kenyatta blames hate mongers and local political networks for the deaths of dozens of Kenyans. Moving on, U.S. seizes Benghazi raid ringleader Ahmed Abu Katala. He is suspected to have headed the raid on Benghazi in September 2012 that left 4 Americans dead, including the U.S. ambassador. Also making news, another World Cup blast, this time in Nigeria, and it's quite unfortunate here. Several people have been killed as they watched this televised match, and they say they actually can't confirm the number of people who have actually died. And we talked about that. Now, yesterday we did talk about Ukraine and Russia fighting over gas. Russia actually stopped its supply of gas to Ukraine. And now there was a blast on a pipeline, and Ukraine says Russia is doing this deliberately to discredit them as a serious player in the gas sector in the region. And that's all we had for you. Morning at NTV does continue right after this break.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.
I was going to my hall, someone came from my back and was
how I went to the nurse and asked why is it that our father is negative and for us we are positive.
Every time I find a story of assault of one person to another, I get disturbed.
Mwayombi ekyorwale tasuzeewo lwe bakwokezza nazeepoza kimu nti mujja wange yanjokezza kino ekyafa kino kyali kyakulira muno mu lubuto.
The Irene I know just loves music and loves to sing. I've never seen her even smoke a cigarette.
The days of legal trade in slaves are history, following its abolition in the 1800s.
They tie you like this. That's when I started getting past.
Everybody has a story, but yours will only become our story when you share it.
Ekifo ekimu kissa wamusu n'ekyalo ekiweddeko abamanye bakiraza mumwa. Tugenda kutuuka gy'oli oyogere naffe ebikwata ku kyalo kyo, embeera mw'okolera, ebyobufuzi, ebyobulamu n'ensonga endala nnyingi. Ebyogerwa tebiyita. Tuusa eddoboozi lyo, yogera naffe buli lwakuna butereevu ku NTV akawungeezi.
Oluvannyuma lwa lutalo abaana bangi batwalibwa ab'ekika era bulala basigadde
abamu bajja ne babakima
era twagende mu Lukoola eyo nakasongola mu Buluuri twagende mu Butale Babalaaro okubuuza omwana oyo mumanyi
nti mukwate obutonde obwekonkome mukwate obutonde bwa Ebola mubuteeke mu nsigo omuzungu ayogedde palamenti muyise bosi basajja
omulembe guno gutuusemu n'abantu n'entondo kati waliwo n'emyaka egy'entondo
waliwo yakiŋŋamba
bamugamba muŋŋambe bulungi kati munkwate empola
dokita buli akwata bayibuli eno ajja kusomera bintu nga ye bw'alowooza. For example, waliwo controversy yaliwo
tobeera mu ssuuti ate n'oteekamu gganduula
olina kubeerako kimu
kubanga okusomesezza tumaze emyaka 2 tusomesa bannayuganda eddembe lyammwe mulimanyi oluusi n'obusobozi obulina nakulabira abaganda baagala kabaka
Kampala has been voted in the past as one of the favorite cities for tourists, one of the most peaceful cities. That is something that is changing.
Kale Kaihura, the Inspector General of Police, and President Yoweri Museveni, their alliance, they can only crack down or stop individual strikes and individual demonstrations. But I don't think they can stop the growth of militancy.
No holds barred.
Besigye and Lukwago have particular grievances against the government, some legitimate, some misguided. What should the police do? Of course, the police has to intervene, A, to protect the power of President Yoweri Museveni and the NRM from disruption by Besigye and Lukwago, but B, also, never forget this, to protect those ordinary people whose property gets destroyed.
I want to ask that many think that they've actually been frustrated.
Opposition parties in Africa do not tend to be constructed around policy differences. FDC lacks a glue to hold its coalition of different power-hungry individuals together.
Incisive.
You see, the NRM is more divided internally than the FDC. The advantage with the NRM is it has political power.
Analytical.
I think that one of the best organized political parties in Uganda is the PPP, the People's Progressive Party with Ansari. This idea that everybody is telling around the world that Africans are poor and they cannot contribute to their own political and social emancipation is crap. In fact, I think that the opposition parties in Uganda have to win an election in an unfair and unleveled ground.
Newsnight with Andrew Mwenda.
She was molested when she was 6 by someone she trusted.
The doctors finally walked into the door. They basically were telling me that she had a 5% chance of living.
I couldn't understand how somebody that tells you they loved you, that held you as a child, could abuse you.
Tommy Scott grew up among gang violence, drugs, and poverty in the projects of South Central Los Angeles.
I felt not normal, not good. I wasn't lovable.
As a teen, Melissa discovered that drinking gave some relief.
Tommy is free today and continues to tell people that it was Jesus who changed his life.
The time I spent in prison, I spent putting my ideas together on, how I was going to come back and make it all right.
And I realized my purpose, that I was created to reflect the glory of God.
Duke now realizes why God kept him alive.
These were real people facing desperate situations, just like you and me.
You know, Jesus died to set you free, and he can give you a new heart.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
The big story this morning is shedding a little bit more light on one of the questions that were raised in the budget. The issue of taxing private schools. 30% tax is going to be levied on these schools. That is vis-a-vis the profits that they do make. And it has raised a hullabaloo of sorts. As many people saying, look, we are trying to give a push to the education sector, but now comes these taxes. It's going to stifle things as they are. Did government think critically about this? Which should the way forward be? We're coming up with a big story to discuss this. Welcome to the big story. My guest this morning, Honorable Joseph Sewungu Gonzaga. Is Joseph your name too?
Joseph Gonzaga Sewungu. Or Sewungu Joseph Gonzaga.
Okay.
So it is commutative.
Interesting name. He's a member of parliament. Much of the time we have known him as a person who is fighting for the rights of teachers and the education sector in this country. Thanks a bunch for joining us this morning. We have Patrick Kaboyo. Patrick is from this association that brings together these private school owners and teachers rather. Yeah. He's here to speak on their behalf. Good to have you here, Patrick.
Thank you very much.
Honorable, let me begin with you. Did you actually see this coming?
No. We are not expecting it. And actually, it is wrong. And we shall not stop fight. We shall not support it. I will fight up to the end. You cannot tax education. You cannot. You cannot. And already, I want to assure you this, that private schools are already paying taxes. One, It is the government which has the teachers training institutions. And after training teachers, it is government supposed to give teachers where to teach. They have failed, and these private schools have got their government trained teachers employing them in their schools and paying them. On top of that, teachers in the private schools, majority of them are paying pay as you earn. Private schools are paying local government service tax, they are paying income tax and other taxes.
Honorable, when you say that education cannot be taxed rather, then we should say the same of, you know, other companies. We should say the same of MTN because it's providing a service. We should say the same of, you know, literally every other sector because they are productive, they are providing jobs, etc., etc.
They are not similar. They are not similar. You are here because you went through a school, and the knowledge you got from that school is not helping you to work here.
Just like the tax fuel, I get here courtesy of fuel, and etc.
Schools create human resource, and the human resource is assimilated in the country and is used by the country to get taxes from them. That's why here at NTV you are getting some payment, and again there is taxation by government from what you are getting.
Patrick, I imagine you have had some discussions with government before, during and after these happenings. What kind of engagements did you have with government before this came to be?
Thank you very much. In fact, not only hearing, but I also do sit on some key committees of the Ministry of Education and Sports. To start with, I must say, the Pre-Primary, Primary and Post-Primary Act 2008, which is a law the Ministry of Education and the Delivery of Education to order clearly categorizes private schools into two. Those for profit and those non-profit. But it also goes ahead to classify that private schools shall also include international schools. And if you are in business, I have no problem with you paying tax. You can only evade tax if you are not in business. But if you are also a law-abiding citizen, you must comply with the statutory obligations. The only dilemma is that the announcement of the tax comes in at a time when there has not been enough assessment done to see which schools are purely in business. But the principle of paying tax from educational institutions, to me, is no problem, because schools are in business. Take an example of the key schools that we have in Kampala here. When you look at a school like Kampala Parent School, the private school, charges 1.3 million. A school like Kaboja charges 1.1 million. A school like City Parents charges 850. The other schools that are within that class or cluster charge not less than 700,000. And there is no private school you will enter to get a teacher who earns at least a salary equivalent to the amount charged from each child. These are the schools that have over 1,000 enrollment. Now, if you collect that money within 3 months, 3 times a year, that to me can be a source for tax for government if truly services are going to be improved and the collection reverted to improving the public good.
Simon Kasete should join us via Skype in a bit, but Honorable,
may I answer
these
him?
schools make colossal sums in profit. Why should we not tax them, especially right about now that we are looking for avenues to make some money tax-wise?
Government is going to end up taxing itself.
Yeah, but they are doing so. Procurement of government, I saw that as well.
Let me drive my point home. Here we are, we have schools which are also government and are sponsored by government. Let me give an example, Makerere College School. It is purely government, and all teachers there are getting money from government as salaries. The lowest teacher in Makerere College, because secondary school teachers earn a bit higher than primary teachers, is earning around 400,000. And still, Makerere College School, which is there, parents are paying above 600,000. Secondly, King's College Budo is government. And King's College Budo, let us call people calling here. What are the parents paying there? They are paying the same amount. So when you talk about the collection of fees in schools, you don't look at only collection, but look at what they spend. For example, before the coming up with this government was even paying teachers in the private schools. And by paying for teachers in private schools, that means there was partnership between the owners of schools and government. Now today, when you talk about Kampala parents all Green Hill, yes, they are paying this million, but still, they are also taxed. It's not about only taxation. They use energy, they use power, they use water, and all these are taken up by government. And look at all the government schools. Why have they failed? Go to Nakasero Primary School. You cannot even use the toilets there because the school cannot afford paying for water, utilities as a matter of fact. So when you talk about Green Hill, you talk about Kampala parents, then you talk about St. Mary's School in Kisubi, talk about Namiriango, talk about St. Andrew's School in Chitovu, Rubiri SS, Gombe, and all those government schools. Because still the parents are paying the same amount which is paid by these people in the schools. And also, that whenever you are going to tax a school, you must first know what is this money doing. Let us take an example. There was a school like Bati Valley. Shimoni, just here where I was teaching. That school by that time, before UPE came, it could afford even buying a bus for itself. Bati Valley could afford, by the time Bati Valley, as we talk now, the lorries and the vehicles which are for Bati Valley have all grounded and have been sold. Why? Because of introduction of UPE, which was not researched.
And to bring in Simon Kasiate, who's joining us via Skype. 30% tax on the gross income of these private schools, Simon, good or bad? What's your take?
Absolutely good, and I will not even miss my words listening to anyone trying to politicize this and claiming to be talking on behalf of the downtrodden. Why shouldn't, indeed, like one of the members there did argue, why shouldn't a school that is charging colossal sums of money from parents not pay taxes directly off what they are earning as an income? For me, I find that defeated. The biggest and most lucrative business today is the ownership and running of schools. You see, I can understand where Honorable Sewungu is coming from. Honorable Sewungu, as a teacher, certainly possibly does understand what it means to teach, but maybe certainly, constrained in understanding what it means to run a business called an education. I'll give myself as an example. I am a journalist by every sense of the word, but I possibly do not understand the business sense of running a media house. If they say that media houses, and I as a journalist come and claim that taxing media houses don't decide for journalism, I possibly am missing something in the area. If you talk to school entrepreneurs and proprietors, they will tell you that the most lucrative business they are doing is running a business that is not subject to any serious direct taxes. I do support the taxing of these private schools colossally, because at the end of the day, anyway, don't they pass the tax back to the people who are paying, who are the parents? And I can tell you, many parents are willing to pay colossal sums of money. So there are reasons why to protect their children to these different schools that pay lots of money. Some can afford it, some want to show off. So if they want to do all that, let them pay tax on that, so that it acts as an incentive to propagate these other UP schools. If you pay to afford your child going to Kampala parents, you will take them to Nakasero Primary School and demand for better service from Nakasero Primary School. Nakasero Primary School is not crumbling or failing to teach because there is no money. It's an issue of management. There is something about government-run institutions in this country. And then management. I keep giving you an example of this dam from where I'm speaking. If this dam was being run by UEB, as the Honorable Sewungu was wanted to revert to, I can tell you this dam would have crumbled, the federal lines would not be working. There's something about government of Uganda management, and we must face that as a malaise. Private sector is what we chose to lead our economy. They must be taxed so that they can give back this government money to provide goods and services, and also to pay salaries of the likes of Sewungu and give them their much desired car parks and their security systems of 25 billion shillings.
Interesting how the energy example keeps coming in. Look, we have privatized this sector. It has been the case for quite a while now, and government needs tax money to run literally everything. The teachers need their pay, for example, and I'm thinking, who then should be taxed? If we cannot tax government schools, for example, we have got to get this tax money from somewhere. We keep clamoring for services. These services are going to come courtesy of taxes, so why not?
My colleague Sewungu is a senior teacher, so I am. I must say that when you look at the two institutions, that's the private and the public, you find that in public schools there is a regulatory framework which is guided by the law. While that exists and gives a window for public schools, secondary, to have a private arrangement, the private schools are purely doing it as a business. And you must know that since liberalization. It is the market that dictates. But if you have this liberalization without regulation, we are bound to get a problem. You get a private secondary school charging without following the principles or procedures. For example, the law states that a school will have a board of governors, 12 members, 2 from parents representing, 2 from teachers, local council, founding bodies, etc. But you find that most schools are using directors as substitute for board of governors. Out there, people have said, you see, when government increases this tax, parents are going to feel it. True, parents have been feeling the pinch through continuous increment of school fees by different schools without notice. Every after year, in fact, every after reading of the budget, schools increase fees, saying because the cost of living is high. So to me, this increment comes at a time to cause a general discussion for parents to ask themselves, is there value for money? Do we need a cost-benefit analysis to try and interrogate where we invest? Because these are the schools which only call parents for a concert, for a sports gala, issues of education financing information, asking what does the money we pay do? Why do I pay you? Still give me a list of textbooks, toilet papers, reams of papers, study tours, etc. What does that money do? And also inside the school, teachers are not given the opportunity to speak out. If you speak in the school, you are either expelled, suspended, or fired, because the director will say, this is my school.
Honorable Sewungu, one of the services we export the most in this country is education. We have Kenyans in this place, we have Rwandese, we have Tanzanians, we have South Sudanese. We have people from all over because our education seems to have something good about it, even though I think we need to alter a number of things to make it better. And one would imagine that, look, if we are getting quite a bit from this particular sector, we should be able to get some money out of it.
But let me, first of all, I want to say something about Mr. Kawayo's submission. Yes, whatever you are saying is true. The weaknesses of government should not create taxes on parents and those. By the way, I want to tell you, whenever you take off bringing taxes in these schools, it is still parents who are going to suffer. For example, a country like Rwanda, they are private schools, but they are regulatory laws which govern them. It's not a matter of charging money. Secondly, you are talking about Sudanese. Some of us who have been in these schools, we know what is happening. They come to Sewungu's school for one term, and the next time they run to another school, which is lower than, which is charging lower fees than the one they have started from. Secondly, I want to inform Simon that whenever you look at these schools, don't just look at them in the form of structures. Majority of these schools don't have money. Actually, you talked about international schools. I have no problem with that. Me, my major concern about private schools, the way they pay teachers. And I'm just happy with one thing, that the schools, private schools, even when you look at NSSF deductions, their money is a bit better than what is done by pay as you earn. Because, yes, a teacher, that one is there, but still, study. That's what we need Madam Kajina to do. Before you bring taxes, make a very good study about these schools. A teacher in the private school, let me talk about Kamoja Junior School. That school, a teacher is earning about 900,000. At least they are deducting 300,000 NSSF.
Honorable, some people have the view that, look, some of you people are making a big fuss out of this because you actually own schools. You do not want to be taxed. Nobody loves to be taxed, even when they make a huge amount in form of profit.
I am not owning a school. I will not own a school, and I will continue fighting for the rights of education. I have no school, but I was a head teacher. Majority of those private schools you are seeing, and even I told it to Madam Kajina that you are talking about taxation of private schools, but you must first categorize them. Why? I was running a private school at an estimate of around 15 million per term. And at the end of that term, I could conclude the term by seeing children only paying 9 million. And after paying these 9 million shillings, my teachers, at the last month, would not be paid at all. Then I had to wait for the next term to begin. Yet you had to feed the children. Some people look at these the benefits of schools. Like, let me take an example of Victoria's primary school. They have about 5 buses. But these buses...
Or even more. I know
or even more. When the Kajina looks at these buses, she says that school has money. But these are buses where parents are paying for the transportation of their children freely, and the buses are using fuel, which is also taxed by government.
I want to bring in Simon again.
Simon, I want to say this. Something very small. He was saying that the children of Nakasero Primary School are not complaining. Yes, government schools are like that. That's why they have collapsed. That's why they are dying. And that's why government has failed to maintain government schools and is running to private schools. Because they have failed to provide the right services as they are supposed to do in the private schools. That's why I've always been fighting. And already today in Uganda, private schools have run over government schools, which is total abnormal. I think we can agree. It should be government schools.
Well, if you have decided to privatize everything, why shouldn't the private sector excel? Let me bring in Simon again. Simon, when you look at many private schools, a good number of them are in rundown buildings. Teachers go for a long while without a pay. And one would imagine, look, this cow has been milked a great deal. You know, should we be weighing heavily again on them with these tax monies?
Well, I do not know the name of the other gentleman who's joined you other than Honorable Sewu.
Patrick Kaboyo.
My name is Kaboyo Kasiate.
If I were in that studio, I would have walked up to Patrick Kaboyo and given him a huge hug and thanked him for articulating. But even apparently, and nobody put across the point I have been grappling with. In fact, after Patrick Kaboyo's submission, I will tell you, to be very honest, I have nothing useful to contribute to this debate.
Okay, producer, you can shut Simon off now.
Because he clearly puts the point and makes it very clear that at the end of it all, parents should begin to ask, are they getting value for the money already that they have been getting? And Honorable Sewu did mention something about a regulatory framework that government should put in place, or regulatory laws. I want to put it to Honorable Sewu. You, as a member of government in the legislature, which is supposed to make laws, what is there other than agitation and all this sort of thing? Why don't we see a concerted effort or a private member bill coming from you, MP Wawasonesa, to compel government to put in place a regulatory framework? Let us not blame something first, let's call the government. When we are in government and we are not doing our part, and all we are doing is being seen to complain and complain and complain. Complaining is not going to take us many places. Appearing on TV shows and castigating a person thing called government is not going to take us places. And I think this tax is good because finally, the more you are taxed, if you are a sensible citizenry, you begin to demand for recourse of your taxes. And for me, this is one step in the right direction. Parents should wake up and stop paying these colossal sums of money to private schools. I mean, everyone is talking about schools saying that we look at them and think they have money. Yes, the school owners have money. Lawrence Muchiri of St. Lawrence Schools, whatever the name is, he's certainly not a poor man. He has lots of money. His pupils or his teachers may not be earning as much as anyone thinks, but clearly he's making a key from his school. We need to tax that. And then at that moment, teachers will begin to demand for more, parents will begin to demand for value of their money.
My producer tells me we have a minute to go. Honorable, I just put this to you. You are in Parliament. The budget is going to be brought before the floor of Parliament. Do you have the numbers to put this to a halt?
No,
very
but
briefly,
normally, I've seen my wars I've fought with the teachers. I've already succeeded. Right now, I'm in court because of UPE. And normally, my statement is that let me try. But if I fail, I'll be brave in my attempt. But I know, as a Committee of Education, we shall wait. He's talking about Lawrence Muchibi. By the way, whatever he's saying, I'm with him. Lawrence Muchibi, you can visit his schools. Why is the university failing? It's because of
money.
Are you
sure it's failing?
It is failing.
But it's got systems in place and things are operating quite well.
At university because they wanted him to raise money.
Have you seen his bank statements?
And I am a teacher and I'm telling you, take time to visit these schools. When you talk about private schools, it's unfortunate. The one in charge of coalition of private schools is fighting against the private schools. Come on. The private schools are run by teachers, by the way. They are run by teachers. Unless you categorize schools. Today in Uganda, most of the people are beginning private schools because government schools have failed. And not many of these schools have money. But as Kasiata has said, I support him. I have already fought this way in Parliament about proper legislation for private schools, legislative authorities, laws. But of course, that law, it is not a matter of bringing it because I'm also...
I'll give you 30 seconds. Just say something and we'll be out of here.
The story of private schools and public schools is like a big fish suffocating the sardines in a pool of water.
Who is suffocating who?
The question is, who owns these private schools? You'll find honorable members of parliament, ministers, the well-to-do, business magnates. The issue is, in principle, we accept taxation. The details should go into assessment, categorization, and regulation.
Then talking about regulation, this show has regulations, and our time is up. Thanks about gentlemen for joining us this morning. We do appreciate. I'm sure this debate can continue some other time. Honorable Sehungu and Patrick Kamoyo, thanks a bunch. Thanks a bunch. My opinion is coming up shortly.
The discussion must begin.
Without a doubt, the issue of taxation raises many a hair on people's heads. Look, for starters, we should pay our taxes as Ugandans. I hope you're not evading taxes. We should, without a doubt, pay our taxes. Of course, many of them turn out to be stupendous sums, and we can keep debating about whether or not we should pay these taxes. But here is my biggest concern. Even as I call on Ugandans to always pay their taxes faithfully, as much as they possibly can, I think at the end of the day, we want to see results. We want to see, you know, us putting our monies where our mouths are. We want to see results at the end of the day, our services delivered. Because for many people that cry about taxation, it is really because they do not see results at the end of the day. They do not see the services delivered. So I think we need to have concerted efforts in ensuring that, all right, taxes are paid, heavy as they are, but people are getting services. As we keep doing that, we'll probably see less complaints of people saying, we don't want to pay this tax, we don't want to do the other. Hopefully, that will get our country moving the right direction. Enough said. That's a big story for today. Thanks a bunch for joining us. Morning at NTV continues shortly.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
You can bring everybody in parliament as long as they can wake up and vote for the NRM.
As long as the voters exercise their rights to elect their leaders, there was no need for term limits in Uganda.
I know him. I know how he operates. I know how he thinks.
There are ways you can go around these obstacles.
Why should I conduct myself as if I am MUI?
It's absolutely true. I admired President Museveni.
Is the ICC a fiscal code targeting African leaders?
You cannot tell me that the whole trouble Kenya had revolved about only 2 individuals.
The money is not in the budget of this financial year.
You can't beat God. You see, God is polygamous also. Look at Jeremiah chapter 31.
The security of this country will largely depend on the contribution that the people make.
Oda, I no go stop to the singing.
No problem. Keep singing. This singing will put you in trouble very soon. You won't believe it's the boy's father that inflicted such injury on him. Just because he stole 50 naira. 50 naira for that matter. That man should be arrested. Oh, how God. How I wish I could just see that man and give him a piece of my mind. Abigail, I don't care if you're chatting with Barack Obama. When you're at work, you learn how to detach yourself from that phone else to get you into trouble. Whatever. I mean, you should be happy that a pilot is asking your friend out.
My brother, I learned that 3 armed robbers tried to rob a man as he came out of the bank at the junction before the express.
Don't try to be the hero.
You won't kill me.
Do you know how long I've been waking you up quietly and you refuse to wake?
Now you can't interrupt someone.
I like to pray with you, nurses, being the vessels that the Almighty God has been using to heal His people.
Okay. Can someone please talk to me? What is going on?
Who is she?
See, I hate cheating in my life. I hate cheating, and nothing will make me have 50 kobo to that money I already get you.
Are you and I ever gonna have a chance to be sisters?
You want the baby to have my name?
Would that be okay?
So I'm happy you came. Yes, especially since I thought you were shunning all things Newman. I have my own reasons for showing up.
What did you say about him?
I'm sorry, attempted rape.
Okay, look, whatever you think you know about him, you don't know his heart.
If there is a way to make me feel more miserable, you will instinctively find it.
You gave up the one woman you loved, and now you're having a hard time figuring out how to move on?
I can't imagine who would want to hurt a good man like you.
Okay, you know what? I don't need you telling me how to feel about Lily.
Are you?
Pregnant. No. Then why are you trying to alienate Tyler?
Has something happened between the two of you?
Are you afraid that I'm gonna do something to ruin your marriage, or that you will?
Why don't we have a party? I'll bring Nikki and bring your siblings. How's that?
Now, what are you gonna do? You gonna blackmail them this time, or are you gonna bribe them?
Looks like Mommy's not the only one who knows how to make up a story.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
Thank you for joining us this Thursday. Now, on the big story, we're talking about the taxation government wants to add to the private schools. And to some of your messages, we have Millie Brenda saying that is like suicide. 30% taxes. The government should get serious. Private schools should be subsidized because they have helped to reduce unemployment. And besides, they have improved education standards in Uganda with better performance compared to government schools. On the other hand, we have Gilberto saying that is the right way the government should go. They need to widen the tax base for sure. The school dropout rate will increase. It will not increase because most of the children are in government schools. Inflation will increase. Parents are going to give up on their children's education. Very few government schools provide real quality education. Do keep your comments coming. We now cross over to Brian for today's Everyday Life segment. Good morning, Brian. What are you talking about today?
Well, thank you so much, Mabel. This morning, every Wednesday is Healthy Wednesday. And a story is told of a woman that once opted for permanent birth control, but in a tragic turn of events, her two children were both electrocuted while left in the care of an apparently careless house help. Both died, and she wanted to have children again but could not. So she resorted to spending millions of dollars on the test tube baby procedure. This morning we look at the pros and cons of permanent birth control, coming up on Everyday Life. Well, thank you so much for staying with us this morning. Dorcas Tuhirire, who is a midwife at Mary Stops, joins us this morning. Good morning, Dorcas.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
This is a very tragic story.
Yeah, it is.
And when you hear that, probably people who tell us to have 40 children would definitely say, see, Mulaba, we told you. In your work that you have done, first of all, what does it even mean, permanent birth control? Why should anyone opt for it? What are the reasons that people give you, the ones that opt for it?
Permanent birth control methods are those methods, most especially surgical, that someone undergoes and then they completely stop to have children. They cannot get pregnant, or if it is a man, they cannot make a woman pregnant. And the reasons why they give is simply because people have got to their number of children that they want. That if they have attained the number of children that they want, then they may decide to have a permanent birth control method, rather than use other methods that will, necessitate them to keep going back to the hospital to pick and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
What are some of the different types of birth control? First of all, let's look at birth control in general, and then probably you kind of tell us the permanent ones.
Well, birth control, I'll have to say that is something, a choice that one makes to either space, to either stop having children. And of course, there are many methods that are available. There are scientific methods that are available, or we could call them medical. There are those that are natural, that are available, and they are, well, depending on what someone wants. The scientific, or if I could say medical ones that are available, include the pills that we hear of, the injections, the implants, the IUDs, and then condoms, of course. I know most people think condoms are for only avoiding HIV and sexually transmitted diseases, but they are also for birth control.
Right.
Then we can have all others, spermicides, we have tubes that people can use. There are quite so many, but those that we commonly use, for example here in our setting in Uganda, are those that I have mentioned, and now the permanent methods, and that is vasectomy for men and tubal ligation for women.
What are the implications? You know, is it even reversible? Like, is it, because I know science is going far. The other day I watched test tube, you know, babies being born, and couples as old as 40 are getting some hope that they can be parents even at a later stage in their life. What are the likely implications of this?
Well, like you said, that lady had to pay millions of dollars to have test tube babies. That is quite expensive. But permanent methods are meant to be permanent, like it is, you know, the word says it, and they are meant to put a stop or to put a permanent control on getting pregnant for someone who has really thought about it and doesn't want to have any more children. Reversibility, they are meant not to be reversible, but yes, they can be reversible, but that is very expensive and not commonly done. And even the chances of someone getting pregnant after going through that operation of reversing are a little bit minimal.
I know about one or two men, you know, who have openly shared their story about vasectomy. But is it safe for the average person? You know, like they say, pills will make some women big, others will make some women smaller. They have different side effects. Do permanent birth control methods have their own side effects?
There are no known side effects with the permanent methods of family planning, and that is one of the very important things that people should know when they opt for these. We do not expect actually any side effects associated with them. I know there are very many people who will give so many experiences. Maybe they got this and the other, but no, the side effects are actually not there when you use a permanent method of family planning. When you have a vasectomy, you're rest assured that you're not going to grow big. Or if a woman does the tubal ligation, they won't grow big. And they will keep being a woman, and they will keep having their periods. They will keep until menopause sets in.
So as medical practitioners, you actually recommend these for couples if they came in. Is that something that you would recommend over temporary birth control methods?
It is not something I would say I would recommend over temporary methods of family planning or of birth control, but it is something I would recommend for a couple that is sure they do not want to have any more children, because it is irreversible. So if someone really has thought about it, if someone opts for this, we actually sometimes give them time to think through it, because they are not going to get pregnant again, or they are not going to be able to make a woman pregnant again. And they have to be sure that they don't want to have a child again.
Story is told of a woman who told the husband that she's pregnant, and the guy was very sure it was not his child because he had cut. That's probably, I guess now more corporate people are also thinking about that, because they want to have 1 or 2 kids and then stop and then cut. Even women are considering those options now. It's not like in the past where the woman was required to have as many children as possible. Let's get down to some of the nitty-gritty. What do you cut? For men, let's start with men.
Okay, the men have a tube called the vas deferens, which moves from the testes, that is where the sperms are manufactured, and then it goes out through the manhood. Okay, so that small tube is what is cut, and when it is cut, it simply means that a man, I hope it is okay to mention really scientific terms.
Yes, say everything.
Okay. At the point of ejaculation, a man will ejaculate, but his semen will not contain sperm. I know that will sound quite hard for some people, but semen doesn't necessarily have to have sperm.
So what's the semen?
The semen is a fluid that comes out at ejaculation. So it may contain sperm or not. So for a man who has undergone vasectomy, there will be no sperm in their semen.
So he stops having sperm?
No.
Oh, it's produced, but it just doesn't. Where does it go?
I would like you to know that this is protein, okay? It is not maybe something tangible, something you can touch. It is just protein that comes out, and when it meets with the egg of a woman, then it fertilizes it and then they make a baby. So if it does not come out, it just simply
dissolves in the body.
Into the body, yes.
All right. So the vasectomy, you'll cut the tube. So you cut off the sperm, literally.
Yes.
And for
tube ligation, for women, we have what we call the fallopian tubes, which are the passage of the eggs or of the ova of the woman. So we cut the two because every woman is naturally or should have two of them. So we cut those two, and then it means her eggs will come out of the ovaries but will not be able to cross over to where they can meet the sperm. So it means when she has sex, it will be normal sex, but her egg will never meet the sperm.
You know, like I guess at one point in my life I should probably think of that.
After you have had the number of children that you want.
Yeah, after. It kind of sounds like a cool idea actually. When you just do your thing no matter what, no matter what happens, you're just having fun. Are there cases that you've handled where actually couples have come to you and said, we did the worst mistake, can't you just reverse this? Where people have probably thought it was not a smart move for them.
Yes, unfortunately, I will have to say yes, because someone may do that and maybe lose a spouse all of a sudden, and then they want to remarry, and maybe the other spouse wants a child. Sometimes, like the unfortunate incident, some people lose all their children in accidents and all that, and they want more children. And I'm not saying this because it's not going to be a smart move. I know it is a smart move for someone who has really had enough children. But yes, I have seen people coming back wishing that they could get pregnant again. Then thanks to technology, at least there is an option of test tube babies and all that.
Right. Well, if you're just joining us, Dorcas Tuhirire from Maristops is here talking about some of the permanent birth control methods that you can think of. Vasectomy and tubal ligations are some of the ones that we know really. And please let us know if you have any question or comment to our Facebook page, Morning at NTV, but also our Twitter handle at Morning at NTV. There's a question here. Why do some of these methods fail to work, like the IUD?
Well, for the long-term or short-term methods, all these methods of birth control, there is none that is 100% effective.
I'm told the IUD can shift. How does that happen? Is it because the person has had too much sex, or how?
No, not
they
really.
Place it properly?
No, maybe when it is not placed properly, thank you, or sometimes when a woman's period is quite so heavy, okay, it may be pushed downwards. So it is not displaced, I don't know, towards the tube or what. It may be displaced downwards, and then it makes it possible for a sperm to escape through a little bit, and then someone gets pregnant.
Right.
So none of these methods is 100% effective. That one we should know, but at least they protect us up to around 99.9%.
So there's a 0.1% of failure.
Yes.
Dorcas, thank you so much for joining us. How can someone, access, in case they need information about this? Should we go to the Maristops centers? Or?
Yeah, you could go to the Maristops centers, and you could contact Murray stops on 07, is it okay? 0759 4034, and you can get information that you need. We also have a hotline which we shall provide.
All right. Awesome. We'll be putting those contacts on our Facebook page and Twitter. Remember, it's morning at NTV and at morning at NTV. We'll be posting those contacts very soon. Now, standing by is Isma. Isma, did everyone all of a sudden expect Brazil to overcome Mexico when they have had a series of matches where they are probably it's a head-to-head contest?
Good morning, Brian. That was quite a performance of the Mexican goalkeeper. The first time Brazil failed to score in a World Cup game in 36 years, since 1978. That's the last time they failed to score during the group stages. I'll tell you about that, why I think the Mexicans are the real deal. They are one of the teams that do trouble Brazil quite a lot. We'll also talk about Spain. They are in big trouble. If they don't beat Chile today and the Netherlands win, Spain could be out of the World Cup. We've seen this happen to France and Italy before. I'll tell you why I think Spain are in trouble. And then the Dutch would want to build on that 5-1 drubbing of Spain earlier in the group stages as we ease ever closer to the round of 16.
Well, let's take a breather. For the rest of you, you can also grab your cup of coffee. We'll catch you in 2 minutes for the World Cup update on the sports update with Isma and I. Stay with us.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.
Did you know that more than 6 million Ugandans use the fastest growing media in the world? In fact, more than 5,000 join Facebook every week, thousands follow trends on Twitter, and many more use several other social media platforms. So, are you thinking smart about the power of online media platforms? Let You Go Uganda offer you business professional social media training, strategic online concept development, and effective online advertising solutions.
Why is Mombasa strategic to the countries of the East and Central Africa region? What makes the port of Mombasa the preferred port on the East African coastline? This channel has been dredged to a depth of -15 meters and widened to 300 meters at its narrowest point to enable the port accommodate larger vessels. These facilities make the port of Mombasa one of the busiest ports in the world for handling grain import aid cargoes for the World Food Programme. On 100 acres of reclaimed land is under construction with a total berth length of 900 meters. This will expand the port's container handling facilities to accommodate the latest generation of container ships and increase handling capacity by 1.2 million TEUs annually.
Health and Wellness is brought to you by Caring Tech Strength, Panadol Advance. When minutes matter, take Panadol Advance. Panadol Advance is a fast pain reliever with Optizop technology. Caring Tech Strength. Panadol Advance.
On the next episode, brought to you by...
At Orange, we know you want to do more on the internet. That's why we bring you happy hour day and night.
La Patrona.
Go ahead, let her in.
Please.
I'm ready to welcome her. Get over here.
This very elegant lady. Oh, no, no, not you again, no.
What gives you the right to kick me out of my house?
Hannibal. I am the only one who says who cannot set foot here in my house again.
What are you doing, Veronica Dantes? Do you mean to steal David? Because that would be a declaration of war.
La Patrona.
You can download movies at the lowest prices and never fast from Orange. Dial *133# to buy a data bundle. Happy hour changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
Well, it's 15 on to 9 o'clock. Joining us this morning is a man who has barely had any sleep. That is Isma Dakaba. Good morning.
Good morning. And it's not a matter of choice. It's out of responsibility. And actually, it normally gets worse around June when the NBA finals are on and there's all this other sport. Luckily, the NBA finals were finished on Sunday. I can't imagine what it would have been because they normally start at around 3-4 a.m. And normally when they are done, that's the time when I get into the car and try to find my way here. It's quite an amazing feeling. But the World Cup has been very convenient for me to a certain extent, yeah, because most of the games are at a very convenient hour, with the exception of the one that comes at 1 a.m. and the once in a while 4 a.m. game on Saturday, which is a bit inconveniencing. But sometimes it's been worth it, especially last Saturday when we were watching Japan, Ivory Coast at 4 a.m. Actually,
it was worth it. You stay up late.
Yeah.
Because I was really annoyed when I watched Nigeria. I stayed up late. I should have slept. I thought to myself, what kind of, I should be in my bed. Why am I wasting time watching this?
Yeah.
But yesterday, the Africans, Algerians, played Belgium.
Yeah.
I was very disappointed.
Yeah.
The dark horses, Belgium, as they were labeled, did they deliver according to the expectations of many?
I think largely they did because they picked up 3 good points there. The Belgians coming from a goal down to beat up on the Algerians. I thought they were a bit nervous. I've got to say this for each of the teams. They're a bit nervous at the start of the game. That penalty that Jan Vertonghen gave away, converted by Sofiane Feghouli, for the Algerians must have knocked them out of their step a bit. But then I was also very worried because of the selection mistakes that I thought Marc Wilmot made, the coach for the Belgians. He went and tried to change in the World Cup, things he didn't do during the qualifying.
Yeah.
Musa Dembele and Nacer Chadli had no business being on the pitch because they are not starters for him. And national teams are not built on rotation. They are built on choosing your best players on the day. Now, when you went back to what worked for him in the qualifiers by introducing Dries Mertens and Marouane Fellaini, the two of them got the goals, and I thought that is what they were lacking up front eventually. But I think a very tough game for Belgium. And actually, in the moment when Algeria scored, my memory kept going back to back in 1994. Colombia came into the World Cup as one of the favorites because they had beaten up on Argentina during qualifying. What happened to Colombia? They went into the World Cup in a very easy group, you would say. They had Romania in there, they had Switzerland, and the USA. What happened to the Colombians that day? They couldn't even remember. They can't even think about it 20 years later. They can't figure out what happened because they finished bottom of the group. Now, in that moment when the Belgians went a goal down, they must have been feeling like Colombia back then, but they got the response and got the 3 points, exactly what they needed. In a group where Russia were drawing with South Korea by 1-1, it's got to be a good result for Belgium in retrospect, even if the performance left a lot to be desired, but a very good second-half performance from Marc Wilmot's team. Yeah. They'll be tough to beat, that I promise you. They'll improve from this.
They've definitely got the push.
They've got the quality. Now they've got to put the performance right up there on the pitch.
Right.
And I thought yesterday wasn't one of the better ones, but they'll definitely be a better side. I love the guy. The one for me, they are probably their most consistent good player. That is Alex Witsel. Plays at Zenit. He's a midfielder, was wearing shirt number 6, has a bit of hair on him. He's a brilliant player. Right. He just keeps his zones, doesn't do too much, but never gives the ball away. And actually, when they need to go forward, he's the one who plays that pass to get Eden Hazard playing or get Kevin De Bruyne playing. And that's the kind of player they need. And I thought he was brilliant on the day, and probably is one of the reasons why Belgium won the game yesterday.
Well, Brazil had a chance to qualify, to be the first team to go to the next round. What happened yesterday? I was rooting for Brazil, and I don't even support Brazil. But I'm the man who thinks film star wafa.
So were the Mexicans, because they also had a chance to go through. And what a goalkeeping performance, Guillermo Ochoa.
Yeah.
Probably he's the reason why the Mexicans picked a point from that game. Though I thought they could have also snatched it. Tactically, they set up so well because defensively, they were very solid. And when they needed to counter, on the counter-attack, they were extremely lethal. They just didn't get that final ball past Julio Cesar. I thought the Brazilians on the day, they played much better than they did for me in the first game. I thought against Croatia, they didn't play well. They won the game by 3-1. So it's wrong for me to say when they drew 0-0, they played better. But I thought they put a team under pressure. They were right there in their faces throughout the game, but only denied by a brilliant goalkeeper. Actually, this is the first time Brazil failed to score in a World Cup group game since 1978. And this is a team that has been to every World Cup in 29 editions. No team has done that.
What?
So that's a kind of performance. But then you've got to think about this way, Brian. Mexico have Brazil's number. No team has beaten Brazil on more occasions than Mexico in the last 15 years. And I vividly remember that 2012 Olympic final when the Mexicans beat the Brazilians by 2-0 in Wembley. Are they one of those teams that do show up for that game against Brazil? They're never troubled. They're never too swayed by the occasion. Many teams would be too afraid of playing against Brazil. Mexicans are never swayed by it.
And I could kind of feel it yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, they were so relaxed. Well, the game was really exciting.
Yeah.
Tacos flying all over. And I must say the referee did an awesome job.
An awesome job. Yeah, I thought
I think he knew what was at stake.
Yeah.
And so didn't dish out.
They didn't dish out too many yellow cards because the Mexicans could have got very many because they're committing so many fouls. They gave out too many free kicks. But I think you've got to handle the game at the World Cup in this kind of way, because if you give out too many of them, I've only got to think that you give out yellow cards when they're supposed to be dished out. That's why I'm a big fan of what Howard Webb said back in 2010. I didn't agree with this decision when he refused to send off Nigel de Jong for kicking Xabi Alonso in the chest in the 6th minute of that World Cup final. But what he said after the game, he said, a player lives his entire lifetime hoping to play in one World Cup final.
Just one.
One. Now, when you send him off, you're ruining an entire lifetime of what someone has waited for. I love that.
Well, that's good justification coming from Howard Webb.
Yeah.
Spain are in a lot of trouble. Probably the only team that should be thinking, why did we come to Brazil? They are going to face a tough side, Chile, today. What do you think? If you were Del Bosque, what would you do?
First of all, they've got to believe that a team as good as Spain cannot get knocked out at this stage. But we've had precedents that indicate that even the favorites could get knocked out. France were knocked out back in 2002 when they were champions.
Yeah.
The same with Italy 4 years ago. They were champions in 2006 and they couldn't even win a game in South Africa, losing that game to Slovakia by 3-2 that eventually got them knocked out. I've got to think Del Bosque has got to bite the bullet. Bite the bullet, make changes. One of them, I don't think Piqué played very well in the first game. They've got to put another defender there. There is a choice between Raul Albiol, who plays at Napoli, and Javi Martinez, who hates playing in defense but can play there comfortably. That's one change. I've been an advocate for Xavi to be dropped in this team, and I think it's high time to take the bullet and drop Xavi, put Coque on the pitch. That's one area. I thought they're also lacking pace up front. I've heard reports that Pedro Rodriguez should be coming in because he offers a lot more pace and goes wider than many of the other players. The other one has been about Cesc Fabregas, who I think won't be selected eventually. Because they think about putting a bit of pace, drop Silva, drop Xavi, drop Piqué, and then the team will be much fluid going forward. And they know they cannot afford to lose to Chile. And Chile is a very tough side. They did score in many of their games. I remember that game when they came to Wembley and beat up on England by 2-0. That was a bit of a disappointment for the English, but the Chileans played very well. They were brilliant in the qualifiers. They were in Germany before the World Cup and drew with the Germans by 2-2. So it's going to be a very, very tough game for the Spaniards. But they've got to score a bit early and they've got to feel a lot more comfortable, because I thought against Netherlands they should have scored. Look at it this way. When the Spaniards scored, we can all sit here and say they lost by 5-1. Yes, the Dutch were brilliant. But at 1-0, the Spaniards had a chance to bury the Dutch when David Silva missed a chance the other way. Minutes after missing, they conceded an equalizer and it was a different ball game. So they've got to take care of those moments, and they have not been very clinical in many of the tournaments. For example, back in 4 years ago in South Africa, you know the Spaniards scored only 9 goals to win the World Cup. Why do they do so when they have the players? They've got to start burying games early. If they go to 0 up, the Chileans have no chance. They give the Chileans a chance. The Chileans are a very good attacking side. With Alexis Sanchez and Eduardo Vargas up front, they could trouble every kind of backline because they have a lot of pace there. And that's my biggest fear for the Spaniards. If they have pick on the pitch and they have Sergio Ramos, both have been very slow, they could be punished with the pace of the Chileans up front there.
Right. Do you believe that the Dutch will build on, you know, what they did to Spain?
I think they should, because the opposition is Australia. Australia don't win that many games. They lost the first game by 3-1 to Chile. I watched them in a friendly just before the World Cup. They lost by 6-1. And actually, their coach was sacked and they had to bring in a new one just in time for the World Cup. I have a feeling that that Louis van Gaal has got to go and build on that performance. And if he doesn't, then how good a manager is he if you can't beat Australia when you've beaten Spain? And that's a bigger worry, I think, for many of these teams. After you've got a big result, the most important game is the one thereafter, because you've got to kick on. If they pick up momentum from the game against Spain, beat Australia, they'll be in the round of 16. They'll be waiting for whoever comes through from the group of Brazil, and who knows how far the Dutch could go. They've been to 3 World Cup finals.
Yeah. Well, I hope they don't do the usual thing, stop at the quarterfinals when everyone is expecting. Well, talking basketball, City Oilers were in Rwanda playing in a tournament, preparing for the Zone 5 championship, which is later this year. How did that go?
They got to the semi-finals and lost to Espoir, so that should be very disappointing for the coach Mande Juruni, because I think he must have thought they should have done much better than they actually did. The City Oilers, the champions here. But one of the things I thought they were going to benefit from that kind of experience is playing outside Uganda for the very first time. This is a team that is barely 4 years old. They were in the league for the first time last year, went on to win the championship, beating up on Falcons, the 6-time champions, in the final. So it's got to be a good feeling when they went and practiced, looked at the teams from Rwanda, looked at the teams in Burundi. So they are the same teams they'll be playing at the Zone 5 in Mombasa come August. Yeah. So it's got to be something now that they've got to improve and know how they play against the Kenyan sides, work out on a few things, because the Zone 5 rules only allow 2 foreign-based players. Now, City Oilers have 3. Now, it's about how they are going to choose which rule they go in with. The 2 of them are big men, and then Jeff Omondi, the Kenyan, who is a point guard. So they've got to choose who goes in where, in that kind of sense. So it's one thing that probably Mande Juruni should be looking at after playing in Kigali.
Right. Now, something that has also caught my eye. Uganda may pull out of the All Africa University Games. What reason now is there this time?
It's always money. It's a debate about 620-something million shillings that the National Union of Sports Federations of Uganda, the university body, does not have. Now, the disappointment here is that for the 600 athletes who did very well at the university games last year, that was in December at UCU, would miss an opportunity to go and represent their country in Nairobi. And if this competition was in Tunisia, if this competition was in Abidjan, or in Gaborone, or in Mozambique, it's very easy to understand, because probably the modalities of traveling there are very hard. But this is Nairobi, and universities can't raise this money when they keep raising tuition. Many of them have very huge sports budgets. I know UCU and Indeje do, and they don't want to participate in an All-Africa University Games competition. That would be extremely sad if they can't raise the money to go and play.
Right. Well, there's a question here for you. How big will the fallout be from Uganda's abysmal showing in the African Cup in Tunisia?
Wow. For a generation of rugby fans in Uganda, they haven't seen their team struggle this hard. And actually, that's because the team lost last year when they were in Madagascar and got relegated to 1B. Now, you thought that since they are going to a lower competition, Uganda will be one of the bigger boys there. What happened in Tunisia has got to be a catastrophe. And I've seen some of the pages on social media, people calling for the head of the coach, Peter Magona, to go, because the team is not playing well. Now, when I thought in Tunisia they could go there, and then they go and lose 2 games, one of them to Ivory Coast, 22-19, and then the other to Senegal by 32-31. A combined total of just 4 points is the reason Uganda could be headed down to Tier 1C. So it could be a big catastrophe eventually if it comes past. But for me, there's a bit of a silver lining. The Confederation of Africa Rugby, the body that is in charge of rugby in the continent, are going to change a bit of the format. And Uganda could still stay in 1B. But how do you improve and kick on with this very young side? I have a feeling that many of these players, and what beats me is that when I look at these players individually, there is exceptional talent on this team. But they are not yet at the level where they are going to peak. They are not yet at the level where they are going to compete on the continent. I have a feeling that the only time this team is going to be extremely competitive and go on and beat up on teams and win on the continent could probably come in 3 years. The only thing I know about our country
3 years?
Yeah, is that we don't have that patience. We want things to happen here and now. Yeah. Now, I have a feeling that this team may be at its peak in 3 years. Shall we wait those 3 years? I don't think we have the patience. The sponsors who give this team money won't have the patience. The fans who are supposed to take care of the team won't have that same level of patience. And so will Uganda Rugby Union. They'll be rushing to change a few things here and there, hoping for relief very soon. And that painkiller won't come unless they stick to their guns and say, we are going to build and stick to this team and hope that in 2-3 years, the team is performing at the level we want it to.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, send your questions as far as the World Cup is concerned and local sport to our Morning at NTV Facebook page. Isma will be here at 1:30 p.m. with Lumansi and Alan to tackle most of those questions. Now, before, of course, we leave you, every day we ask you contribute an African proverb. Let's check out what Tugume Chris sent us. Money is sharper than a sword.
Money is sharper than a sword. I thought it was Algerian since the Algerians played yesterday. But money has the ability to make things move. You know, when I always hear this thing about more money, more problems, a notorious B.I.G. song, that monster hit from 1997, about more money, more problems, I'm always thinking, give me the money. I shall see. I said I have all those problems. I'm always thinking it's a very wild opinion about it.
Yeah.
But I think money makes things easier to do or move than when you have to get a sword and eliminate someone, eliminate something to be able to do things. Money does things.
I guess where they say where money beats.
Yeah,
it's Gonzaga.
Yeah, it becomes much softer. By the time you walk in with your sword, it's much easier. So that's anything.
I'm also one of those people who believe that money, you have money, then you have more problems. Then something is wrong there.
Yeah,
it's supposed to make things.
Money makes things easy. Because the other day I was watching the news and the president of the UN General Assembly, Honorable Sam Kutesa, when he came back from New York, and all these people praising him, and actually dished out notes. I was actually watching my TV. The NTV bulletin, and luckily the person who was on the camera made sure that we count every dollar he gave out, and there were $100 bills. And actually, the time it was done, 1, 2, 3, 4, there were 20 of them. I said, yeah, $2,000 in his jacket, just pocket change. Come on, money is better than a sword.
All right, maybe you've been thinking, let me stay in bed. I'm telling you, this money is sharper than that sword. Get out and go and make some money this morning. I hope we've helped you jumpstart your Wednesday. We'll catch you tomorrow. The World Cup is here. Stay safe. Whatever is happening in Kenya, our brothers, we are praying for you. And for our Ugandan brothers also, we ask you, please be vigilant, be security conscious, take care of your lives. From the whole crew right here at the NTV studios, we want to say, hasta la vista, baby. Bye-bye.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.